Hello, everyone. I have a different setup here today, so we're gonna try and make do with what we got. Might not look that different. Hopefully, it doesn't sound that different, but it is very different. I got myself 2 laptops, looking like a DJ right now, or something cooler than a DJ. Music is really loud for you guys, not for me, though. There we go. Well, excuse me. I also, for some reason today, I've got like chest congestion. Kind of seemed like came out of nowhere. Good guy beyond making sure I got in. But yeah, I am alt tabbing. I am trying to coordinate everything. I should be using my stream deck more, but I never really got into the the habit of it, to be honest. I'd always just go over to my second monitor and click the out of game, in game button. And, you know, it worked, but it doesn't work now. Ooh. The heck? StarCraft 2 is not missing. It's up and running. Huh. And yet it won't really register. Oh, no, I not have this in... Ah, it's in full screen. That's also okay. This is just what we're gonna have to work with. I can barely hear any sounds, though. Fortunately, this is something I did not test. Alright, let me know what the audio is like. Is it alright? This is gonna be great. I got my monitor, my main monitor like usual, but then it's actually on my laptop. Can you guys see the yellow outline? Okay, good. If you guys can't see the yellow outline, then I think this is about as good as we're gonna get. And then, no, the yellow thing is visible. Lies, deception. You know, I actually don't know what the yellow thing is at all. Except that it's something to do with the laptop. It's the stupid windows. Is the audio supposed to sound old and warped? I mean, no. too bad, because it's actually exciting. Best of 3 on a new map. Ugh, I gotta open up Windows. Alright. God damn it. Of course, the tutorial I'm looking at is in Windows 11, which I would have on my main PC, but this is Windows 10. Hope you enjoy the zerglings in the background. All this to get rid of stupid Windows settings. Oh my god, none of these. And none of the videos are helping. I found one video that helped. I have no idea what you're asking, Cinnabon. Something to do with like the privacy. It's stupid things with like trying to tell me that they're recording. But I don't want.
Hostile forces detected. Arming raid defenses.
Thank you for the raid, but unfortunately, this isn't a great raid timing. Hello, everyone. I would love to say that we're into an amazing game, but really we're just troubleshooting. So. I hate it so much. all the all of the videos telling me where to go to turn the setting off are all Windows 11. But they all say Windows 10 as well, so of course they show up in the Google. On the Google machine. But they're only the Windows 11 setting, which does not exist in Windows 10. There is no privacy and security button in Windows 10. I swear to God, this doesn't always exist. Because obviously I've streamed from my laptop before on Windows 10, and the yellow border wasn't always an issue. It might be because it's also not registering it as a separate like window itself. Oh my god. Alright, now that it's in Windows, now that it's in windowed full screen, fucking works. Of course, it's some setting that has nothing to do with the thing I was actually looking for. It's so stupid. Well, there is a game happening. Of course, we miss everything about it. But apparently it's happening. It's 11 minutes in. I don't know if there actually was any audio issue. But, yeah, let me know and I can try and fix it after this game, I suppose. It does look like Bjorn's winning, but then again, he is on 3 bases, having delayed his 4th base, and, well, it's a decent bio push. All the banelings are now gone. Or almost all the banelings, I should say, but almost all the banelings are gone. Drops cleaned up in the natural, and what else does Solar have going for him? 5 base, 6 base, 90 drones, lurkers on the way, using the old overlay. Everything seems so much smaller after getting used to the new one. Anyway... but it looks like Bjorn has also gone into... he actually does have 2 factories, but he's making almost pure bio, which is why I had to check. Unfortunately, with that... oh, it was a 5th. This is the 4th, okay. So yeah, I also would have used some of the beginning time to actually check out this map. Old Republic. I don't know if they're a KOTOR fan or something. A nice drop from Bjorn on the right side to kill a hatchery. Didn't get out. In time, yeah. Misses actually the active creep tumors, which is a bit annoying. It's a great Woodamine shot, though. And this is, it's actually a pretty good push. It's going to kill another base by the looks of things. My graphic settings are also going to be different. So Queen's not properly dying is kind of throwing me off as well. Ooh, get the Vipers? Nah, I can't get the Vipers. Can't get the Vipers, but more importantly, still can't get that 5th. Lurker's now denying it. Both of them added even supply, about the same bank as well. So this is actually a really good game that I missed the first 11 minutes of. Awesome. We're also getting to the late stage where we're going to actually see Ghost and the Ghost change, which we still haven't seen a ton of, thanks to the absence of Zerg players in these tournaments. Pushes away the Lurkers on the right side at the very least. They do have both of their upgrades. And Bjorn is on 4 bases, but it's getting to that time. Needs a 5th. Going to try and maybe do a little double expand, so protecting both bases. It's going to be difficult against the mobile Zerg. This is the current patch. I mean, the current patch is the only patch, you know? There is no PTR. No one can attend Safe House, unfortunately. There is no audience area. It's just a house. Is the ghost supply bug fixed? It should be, yes. From all other accounts, they've said that it is fixed. Defends the 5th base and can't get the 6th, but at least he gets the 5th base up. But now under attack in the middle. So I know Infestors actually. This is where, especially with the gas bank, I feel like Infestors and Microbial Shroud would actually be helpful. I mean, you're talking about the classic setup of Dark Swarm Lurkers, except it's Microbial Shroud. But looks like Solar doesn't want to grab that. Did grab Frenzy, so the Hydras are a little bit more mobile as well. Yeah, I mean, Fungals plus Microbial Shroud. Like, at this point, we're our late game TVZ. I mean, Spellcasters are going to be useful, but right now just focusing on the Vipers, which are getting some pretty good parasitic bombs. Taking down the Planetary as well before Beyond can react, and that puts Beyond back down on 4 bases. There is not a 5th. That is still being denied by 1 Lurker. Una Lurker. Which Beyond could easily handle if he, had unlimited APM and unlimited attention, but has bigger things to focus on, which is surviving on the 4th base, which he obviously also needs. Ghost forced to flee for a second anyway. They've not quite gotten rid of those Lurkers, starting to get some snipes down, and the Lurkers are forced to back away. That was quite a good concave from Beyond after all, so I think Solar realized that was going to be... It might look like a good situation, until you blink and you miss all the snipes and the Banelings don't connect with the bio, and then suddenly you are gunned down into oblivion. That could have gone sideways very quickly, so Solar does back away. He's been building a bit of a bank, but still nowhere close to being a very comfortable bank for increasingly late-game TVZ. Even though Beyond has been forced to be on 4 bases for now 16 minutes, might be losing this 6th. The Lurker did a great job denying it and scouting that it was still there. So it does grab an easy command center. The Beyond still has a really good army. 3-3, Ghost Bio. That's an army that, in the right circumstance, can take an incredibly efficient fight. And so Solar does have to respect that. If it gets more like 5k, then maybe you're a little more aggressive with some of these pushes. But it does have to be careful. It's also a new map, and so I'd say for both sides, really, another one of my shot goes off. For both sides, figuring out exactly what you want to do next is just that little extra hesitation because of the terrain being different. I don't know who would have played in some of the TLMC tournaments. So, some people might have a little more knowledge of the game, of the map than others. But most of the time, even if they do, I mean, they're playing, the test maps while also still playing all the regular maps in every other tournament. So it's not like they really still have a ton of experience. Anyway, that hesitation might mean that Solar can't quite break Beyond. Oh, he's trying to do so right now, catching some of the ghosts. We see some of the Baneling, I guess, versus light ghost action going on, but a lot of them have been saved. This Planetary finally a goner after so many attempts to kill it. And that was the 4th base, with still a decent amount of mining left over, but the 5th base was gotten. Extra minerals went into the command center, which was absolutely a choice. I mean, he was maxed out when he did this. Now, obviously, missing 800 minerals, can't max out, but probably the better choice. Has to be careful not to take a really bad engagement, though. He would not be able to replenish the bio, and he's going on to creep, which is a little scary looking. I think there's a Nidus Swarm coming up in the natural that is being taken care of. This hatchery does go down, and it looks like a little bit of a split, even on creep, is really making this difficult for Solar to tackle, although he's got plenty of Banelings. They're stuck behind the Hydras. Ghost once again forced to flee, trying to split the last second, and it is a good split. And there's not a whole lot of Lings to take advantage of the split. The Hydras, though, taking down the Medivacs on the front line. Frenzy as well to continue chasing down what is certainly going to be a retreating Terran. And there he goes, trying to retreat, but only after going down 30 supply. The natural was taken care of as far as that Nidus Worm, but this is where Beyond hasn't quite reestablished the economy. Yes, he invested into more command centers. He did lift immediately another orbital onto the 4th base, but there wasn't that bank for him that if he took a bad fight, he'd be able to replace, whereas Solar actually did have time to build a bank. Has been able to rebuild, although maybe Larva is a bit of Larva is a bit of an issue right now. And that is a very big difference. This was, I'm not saying that Beyond shouldn't have pushed. I feel like it was kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, but at least the push did grab a hatchery, and this hatchery has not been retaken. The corner base, though, very healthy. The middle base still's got something for Solar there. I mean, neither player comfortable for the economic situation doing absolutely nothing, I think, for, an extended period of time. Solar wants to continue expanding. Beyond wants to continue expanding. But for now, I feel like Solar's got a little bit of that edge. The Nidus Worms also coming into play should eventually pay off. But right now, Bjorn is handling things very nicely on that front. Solar not confident going in immediately, especially because of that larva block. Is only just now maxed out and ready to go, having given Bjorn a bit of time to recover the supply. Now only a 20 supply difference, and that is actually only in workers. So Bjorn, even on the army supply, EMPs, the Vipers, doesn't quite get all the infestors. Fungal doesn't really hit very much, and with the high ground concave that Bjorn has, it looks like he will be able to hold. A full Solar quickly remaxing, not able to get into the nook and cranny of the bases. Did still kill 15 extra SCVs. And Bjorn at 45 SCVs, but actually still be kind of, I'm not going to say comfortable on that SCV count, but he's like, okay, I guess that's about as much mining as I have SCV count, really. So he might not be eager to replace those. Although I think if he does manage to get another base up, maybe then you would. He does have a lot of orbitals, so he's going to be slapping down mules when he gets a base up. Once again, this right side base not coming down as fast as one would want. Drones starting to transfer on over. Bjorn does go over. He's going to be able to kill so many drones, but he's also being chased. Solar looking for a moment. I mean, he could just take this base and call it a day, but he wants these ghosts as well. Ghosts not quite being surrounded. We got attacks coming in from every single angle, but it actually turns it a little haphazard. So Solar, he does grab the orbital with Lings, which is a bit of a sore point because it could have been lifted, but Bjorn was paying attention in many different locations, so he does lose another orbital. But yeah, that still was not the end result that maybe Solar was wanting, which was actually trying to surround all of those units and kill them. You got to do both eventually, right? Like, you got to kill the economy and the army. You kill the economy first and then the army, fair enough, that's great. But if you're not killing the army as well as the economy, Terrans are sneaky little bastards, aren't they? Like, they thrive on this type of situation, and they just drop a bunch of mules as soon as they have 20 seconds to get a base. And suddenly they are still maxed out. I say thrive in the situation, that's not really the right word either, but... They make do in this situation. There you go. That's the right phrasing. That's kind of their thing. The scrappiness. And Bjorn is being especially scrappy. Actually taking a look at the resource trade. Pressing all the buttons. 10,000. That's actually kind of reasonable. It's just that Solar has not been able to take as many bases as a Zerg player would want, which is why I think we're still scared for Solar. Even though 3,000 bags seems comfortable, it can turn south very, very quickly. Solar wants to make sure that he has enough to remax, including the larva, which was his limiting factor last time there was a significant trade. Lurkers and the army trying to hit this left side base, not quite getting close enough, just forcing a liftoff on the orbital. Right side, we got Bio entering in to a fight with a lot of Ling Baneling and a Viper. I'm not sure they don't really want to be pushing into that, but dragging it back into the Woodamine field, that could always work. And then back on the left, we just got two armies fighting each other on either side, trying to keep track of things. It looks like Solar, like either player really wanting that fight by the looks of things. Like, again, Bjorn can kind of push and then drag back, but I don't think he's actually going to push on to creep into the awaiting arms of Solar, and vice versa, really. Both of them having to be very, very careful. Again, Solar, he did add in some infestors, but he's still not adding on Microbial Shroud. Microbial Shroud's in a weird place. It's now definitely a late game situation since they made it an upgrade. Whereas before, people were experimenting with it around the lair time. But then this game, StarCraft 2, is just so mobile that trying to use it when mobility is your key to success, a lot of times in late game TVZ, can seem kind of worthless. And in that way, I don't really blame not using it and not bothering to upgrade it. When there was more lurker emphasis, I could kind of see the combination, but now it's just about trying to catch Bjorn where he's not paying attention, where he's not ready to fight. And Microbial Shroud isn't really helping with that. Do I still kind of want to see it? I do still kind of want to see it. I mean, if only for selfish reasons, to see what it could look like, but say Livy. Nidus Worms out being used to not just offensively position themselves, but also defensively, allowing transferring of armies between left and right side. EMP on the one infestor that was there, so no fungal, which is clearly still the best thing about the infestor, and no real connections made on that right side army. Liberator was taken out, but a lot of bio was left over. Lurker still being a thorn in the defensive positioning of this base. Going to become less and less important, I guess, as it mines out, but, I mean, still the jumping off point that Solar wants. Can't just give it up. Wants to make sure this base doesn't mine for a long time, but at this point it's mined for minutes. Maybe now, finally going to break it. It's consolidated a lot more of his army off to the right side, whereas Bjorn not able to do so nearly as quickly. Does bring in some reinforcements, does pull back to a very defensive position, manages to hold on. Even though Solar did combine his forces from the left, because the left no longer under attack, and the right, Solar just simply does not have as much army. Bjorn has not remade any SCVs in a while, so he's ahead in the army supply, no doubt about that. Just needs to make sure that it's never once surrounded or mass fungaled, which so far he has been able to avoid. Snipes going down now in the Hydra since all the lurkers are gone. Scans ahead reveals no spellcasters, although we are getting awfully low in that health. The medevac count has been depleted. Maybe the reinforcements haven't come forward, but either way, this army was very, very low, and the Ling Hydra did take advantage. Bailey's making some connections. Planetary going to try and hold against everything here, which isn't much, and I think it will hold with the mass SCV repair. Meanwhile, Bjorn's left side army that was originally defending the left side goes in for the attack, sees the opportunity, and Solar loses a base that, yes, it was mining out, but still, domino effect, one thing leads to another. Suddenly the Baneling nest is under attack, the hatchery is under attack. Larva was a problem previously, it could be a problem in the future, although I'm certain that money will be a bigger problem, because neither player with a big bank at this point, still consistently mining. Now we got this engagement going on. The ghosts have cloaked up, but there's plenty of overseers. Bjorn is going to be forced to leave. He does escape with 4 medevacs, 3 of them full of units, and that's better than nothing, although he does unload, and that feels very, very dangerous. The parasitic bomb dealing so much damage with a limited number of medevacs to begin with, and now he's going to lose some units as well, but he's back on the right side trying to attack where Solar is not prepared. Finds a hatchery, and that's a couple hatcheries down. Neither one had a lot of mining, but still, we're going down, down, down in the income. It was at 2,200-ish, you know, now it's down sub 2,000. Oh, now it's going to go way down. That is another mining base. It is going to be destroyed by Bjorn, or perhaps not, barely in time. Going to be able to save it, but for how long? It's a very weakened hatchery. Bjorn was still also trying to distract on the left side. He's going to find this base, which is really the last mining base. I mean, if the corner bases go down, Solar has no mining. But they've actually they've been matching each other's economy, because even, I guess, while Bjorn is killing hatcheries, he's also just straight up mining out of his minerals. So they're both staying very similar in the income. Medevacs try and skedaddle. The Frenzy tries to catch them. Not going to be able to do so. They will be able to unload relatively safely behind this planetary, of which it could also be repaired, and Solar does not want to engage into that. Oh my goodness, this is a very action-packed game. Really sad I missed the first 12 minutes of this due to technical issues. We're on 27 minutes, and it's not quite decided, although I do feel like Bjorn is now the heavy favorite. Solar has not been mining consistently enough for a Zerg player who is taking trades, right? And he is taking trades. Actually, he's taken much worse trades since I've last checked. Wow, doubling the resource loss deficit. Well, that is bad. That is, yep, that, you know, that alongside not mining as much, of course, yeah, you're not going to have a good time. That's no good stuff. When supplies were getting even, that was already a pretty bad sign for Solar. But now, obviously, down 30 supply, 40 of that in army. The engages are not getting better. There is no magic bullet that Solar forgot to make and has now made to kill this army. It was touch and go there for a while for Bjorn. I actually thought Solar was getting a bit of a foothold when he started to accumulate a bank, when he started to deny important bases while taking important bases of his own, but Bjorn's 1-2 on either side of the map ended up winning out. And this is going to be the final battle that is going to end in Bjorn's favor. Solar not quite ready to give up. I was going to say, that kind of looked like a battle that it was like, well, do or die at this point, and it was die. GG's. Ay, ay, ay. All right, how was everything? How was everything there? Is audio okay? Looks like it was peaking on my end, but... So I was trying to explain my setup before I went into troubleshooting mode. But my setup is, I got my more powerful laptop powering StarCraft 2 in the stream. But it is the laptop connected to a monitor. But the laptop had to be put over here to connect to the Ethernet cable, which I'm not used to looking this direction for the chat. So I got my other laptop to my left that actually has the chats open as well as the predictions, which I forgot to do. but then I like think it's the other monitor, you know? So I go to like Alt Tab and then move my cursor to the left, but that's a completely different computer. It's a whole thing. If you saw the setup right now, I'd look like I was in the Matrix or something. Cables every which way as well. Yep. The good news is I did set up my Stream Deck for, you know, this type of situation, even though I have no habit in using it. Which does save me some headache, but yeah. The other thing I want to remember to do before this, or after this series, before the next series is over, is get the new overlay, not the small one. But anyway, let's get into game 2, which we can now fully focus on. In the top right, on Throne of the Dunes. All right. It is Beyond, and in the bottom left, it is Solar. A couple more sandy, duney type maps this time around, I guess. Okay. We did not get an overview of the last map, but these are all maps that I guess won TLMC or were played for TLMC. And now, you know, they almost did the tournament on the maps last week, but it was kind of a last-second thing. So they made sure to do the new maps on this tournament to see what they look like, to continue giving it play testing in a competitive field. But like I was saying earlier, some of these players might have actually already played on them and are at least a little familiar with them. No one would be super familiar. And it does add a little bit of hesitation. Those late game scenarios, knowing exactly how you're going to enter into the Terran's 4th base, as well as their 5th, as well as get the angle on the main base that allows the Nidus Worm, you know, that all comes with a bit of experience and habit building on maps that you play over and over and over again on ladder, and not so much in this case. As far as the abusiveness of the maps, though, I gotta imagine there's not that much. Usually, if a map is abusive, you know, you don't give time for anyone to try and figure it out. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, by the way, but it's the truth, right? Like, maybe if a map went into rotation and it was abusable, but it also had to be played on, like tank abusable, for instance. That's usually what would happen in new maps. It's like a tank position would be really abusable, and they'd be like, nope, can't have that. Nope, sorry. But if it was like forced to be played on, you would hope that maybe they could figure something out. Doesn't happen. And it's a real conundrum as far as trying to make interesting and new maps for StarCraft 2, because you do have to strike that balance between, well, balance as well as creativity and ingenuity and interest, basically. Because as soon as it's not balanced, then no one picks it. Then people say, well, it's useless. No one's going to pick it, so we're not even going to put it in rotation, which they have a point. But then you're stuck with a lot of maps that they might look different. They might have a different palette. They might have a healing shrine in them or something, but otherwise play very similar to the rest of StarCraft 2 for the last 8 years, Legacy of the Void. Which is just a little sad, in my opinion. It's just a little. Not like, when you see what Brood War, gets as far as how crazy they can go, it's just always like, yeah, oh well, what are you gonna do? As far as this map goes, I mean, basically in Legacy of the Void, you gotta guarantee 3 bases, if not 4 bases. You can't restrict how many bases there are, and you can't restrict the map distance that much either, the rush distance, because then Zerg is left out. But it sucks, because I think all of us kind of want a more action-packed game. People have fond memories of some of the short, honestly kind of stupid, but still fond memories of, like, early Wings of Liberty. Where you just, ran for 10 seconds and you were at your opponent's natural. But they did create very, fun, chaotic games. And now it's just seen as something you can't do, because Zerg players will be like, well, we just die instantly. So, like, what the fuck? And it's like, okay, sorry, yeah, you're right. You do die instantly, our bad. It's going to be a very typical opener, by the way. 3CC111, Hellion Liberator. Not Banshee, but still 111. Island maps in StarCraft 2. I mean, they were never really tested, right? Like, I can't think of a single island map that has existed in ladder. No, I don't think there ever was one. Not even in like tournaments. Like, no one was brave enough to put an island map in a tournament map pool. These Hellions see an opportunity, but yeah, it's not actually there. Get the Evo blocked in case they went for it. Calling those one base 5-minute 4-gate proxy racks games fun is subjective. It is, and that, I mean, honestly, there is a nostalgia goggle problem in StarCraft 2 in general. You know, kind of on the topic, kind of not on the topic. It could be a whole separate rant, actually, if I'm being honest. But yeah, when it comes to play styles and maps and how that encourages play styles, there's so many people who would say that they prefer what they were doing in Wings of Liberty, but I think what is missing is that they were also 15 years younger, and everything was so new. You just can't really get that same type of situation again. We're just like, you know, Grandmaster. I mean, Grandmaster didn't even exist at one point, actually, in Wings of Liberty. So it was like not even that. It was like Diamond League just did whatever the fuck they wanted. Like, no one knew what they were doing, and everyone was having fun. And they were like, back in my day, I could do the stupidest build and win against someone. And that's strategy. That's StarCraft. That's what it should be like. Mechanics are stupid. And it's like, okay, sure. All right, yeah. I hate those people, by the way. Anyway. We got ourselves a 5-base drone Zerg. Not going to lose bases by the looks of things. Beyond should be almost ready to go with the drop, though, and we'll see what that does. 6 Hellions still survive. Armory's not done particularly quickly, so I don't know if they'll be alongside this engagement or not. I think he does do it, even without the Hellbats. Yeah, he does still put them with the main army. Move out right down the center of the map. Some creep spread to be used. And, I've been trying to show off the map a little bit, but there's not really a lot to show. I mean, there's not like there's a healing shrine or a gold base or Rich Vespian Geyser that I can see. There was one last game. I didn't highlight it, but yeah, not this time. It wasn't going down the middle. It was a little off to the right. Lings not really wanting to take this on with the Hellions helping. There's the Banelings. That's what Solar was waiting for, and the Banelings are coming off Lake close. Now we're off of Creep. What mine's Burrow. They could tank some shots, or they could get a shot. Either way, that's better than the Marines making connections with the Banelings, and now there's only 5 left over. Make that 4. Queens also starting to die here, and that is impacting the overall Queen count, obviously. The Hellbats are this time around. Hellbats tank the rest of the Banelings. That armory did finish up, and suddenly Solar is looking into a little bit of trouble. Marines are awfully low. The Medivacs are going to be forced to flee, and well, that looked like it could have been dangerous. I guess time was... I mean, I'm not going to say time was necessarily on Solar's side, because I still think that was not the engagement Solar was looking for. This was not the situation Solar wanted to have happen, which is that it took so long, it took so many Banelings and so many Lings and so many Queens to actually push that back, which is rather... Beyond wasn't going to reinforce particularly quickly. He was going to be pushed back, but it was temporary, and Solar is still in some trouble if he can't push this back faster. That's the good stuff. That's what looks better for Solar, as he also combines it with a Ling run-by that is being handled, but nonetheless, getting some action on his opponent's side of the map, instantly pushing back the attack on the front, getting that creep spread replanted. He was rebuilding his Queens while they were dying as well, so I don't think he's missed too many injects or opportunities to creep spread when given. And, you know, he was doing all this while grabbing a hive. So this is why it's been also a little bit difficult. So if Solar does survive this very tenuous position, then he is going to be rewarded with 84 drones, 5 bases, hive technology. And, you know, honestly, I think Bjorn was... If he didn't move so aggressively onto this creep that he had to just run away from the Banelings, like this could have still been a very, very, very scary situation for Solar. Now it's normal scary. I'm facing Bjorn in a TVZ scary, but I mean, previously it was like, creep spread gets denied. Suddenly the Terrans abusing this choke. Suddenly the reinforcements are there. Could have been much worse. Solar stabilizes. He is on his way to 2-2, a little ahead of his opponent, a little ahead. He's got that Viper on the way, at least one to help out, and he has managed to, again, build an army that sizes up to Bjorn's, and he can also split appropriately, because Bjorn is starting to divvy up his own army. Once again, army on either side of the map. Very bio-focused. No just big push down the center with slow tank hopping. Nope, a lot of action, a lot of mobility. Takes a 4th base behind all of this, so they're a little supply block. Fixing that now. Tons of upgrades finishing up. And it looks like we are getting ourselves into a late game TVZ yet again. Again, paying attention to both sides. Solar, once again, just trying to get a position where he can surround Beyond, and it does get a little bit of a surround right there. One of mine this time does not get a pop-off. One Viper to help out against usually a growing number of medevacs. There we go, Parasitic Bomb. This one not going to be super effective. Solar is hanging on. He's getting into anything a little bit better. Not necessarily. He's just finishing up a lot of upgrades. Adrenal Glands will finish. Hydra Speed is on the way. He's got 3-1 now, so the Hydras don't have any attack upgrade, but they do have some Carapace. Lurker Den is also on the way. Since we missed the first 12 minutes of the last game, I would just say that it wouldn't surprise me if it did look like this. And then generally that happens, I'd say, between these two, between T and Z, between with Solar as the Zerg. I don't know. It happens so often that the Zerg player is going to be defending, looking a little bit worse for wear, maybe not super comfortable. But they do take one good engagement, and suddenly they're on the offensive, suddenly they're attacking multiple bases, suddenly Lurkers make an appearance, and the Lurkers create a whole other dynamic to the engagement, and then the Zerg seems to have a much better position. But right now, it is the Terran's time to try and find as much damage as possible. Once those Lurkers are out, they'll draw a little more of a line in the sand. So it looks like Byun is finding this damage, appropriately marking against the Banelings. Now fully surrounded, however, without medevac healing, is going to get that entire army destroyed, but then opens up the opportunity on the left side, which Solar is trying to react as fast as possible. But that hatchery, I mean, could have been a goner, and it's not going to be a goner. Byun going to take the engagement. Banelings making some connections, only going to be able to lift with one medevac to escape. Unfortunately, did not kill that hatchery. Didn't kill this hatchery either. 6 drones did go down. But Solar's still on 80, and now Solar... That Lurker Den is done. Not going to have any upgrades on it, but this is kind of that time where you see Byun having to evacuate, moving all the way back to his home base, fleeing the scene. And this is where Solar doesn't just find some stabilizing position, but he also actually starts to be, hopefully, aggressive. He does need to recover from all that damage. Didn't get the hatcheries, but did push that creep a lot back. Didn't kill Solar, but has kept Solar suppressed. Byun is also needing to regroup, take a 5th base, see if this time it's easier than the last map. So far seems to be the case. Solar, I think, was in his face around this time. Now he's still on the defensive and still missing that creep spread, particularly around the base that he's now trying to take. This 6th base, very underdefended. Also, you know, not the easiest base to defend overall by the looks of things. Not that we have tanks, but just looking at what you can do around the edges. The choke to be able to push through. Looks a bit scary. Nidus Worm is on the way. That did not really pan out in the last game, but obviously you need to do it. You need to try. And usually, if it's not the 3th, 4th, 5th time you get the Nidus Worm up in their base, it's the 6th time it does it. With Lurkers now available, it seems like he'll be able to have an easier time dealing with the multi-prong pressure. As far as when ghosts appear and the armies collect together, I mean, that's another issue, but Byun's not going to be able to easily send 16 Marines down the path on the left side against those Lurkers. Not going to be able to easily escape from this either. The Lings immediately try and go for this around. Banelings connect. Widowmines do a little friendly fire. Ghost left behind. Byun forced to just run away entirely. Back up to the planetary, which is done. Focus fires down the Banelings. SCD's ready to repair, but not repairing by the looks of things. Or if they were, it just wasn't barely enough. No, it is barely enough. Woof! Almost losing that planetary, but holding on at the last second. Overseer was going to go into the main base for a Nidus Worm. Byun does take care of that supply block. Solar once again. 13 SCDs went down. That is easily replaced. Not a big deal. And Byun is still on 5 bases, which is actually a better position than last game, which does not bode well for Solar, who obviously lost in the last game, despite it being very, very close and very back and forth. 3-3 has been done for the Terran, now working on some of those building upgrades. No sensor towers as of yet, which might be useful. That Solar got the one attack into the planetary. He did not kill it. Forced to rebuild. Still doesn't have a huge bank, but does have a very good economy. Just needs some time and some better engagements. 6,000 resource difference, not too bad. We'll see if it stays that way. Nidus Worm a little outside the base, meant to do something, is found. Beyond is not letting these Nidus Worms ruin his game. What am I almost gonna get a better shot? This seems like a tough. I mean, I can't say for sure, but it seems like a tough map for the Zerg to actually. It's a tough position. Solar, I feel like, has been recovering for a long time. When he did get the time to strike, unfortunately, was unable to do the damage it was supposed to. But right now, I'm seeing Solar unable to kill Bjorn's outside bases, so he's been on 5 comfortably. Further bases for Solar are either pretty far away, but kind of close to the Terran's base, or at the very least, you're still pushing kind of aggressively towards the Terran. So there's not really, like, if there's a safe, if this map was bigger and there was a safe base down here, you feel a lot better about taking that. This corner base is quite far away. I don't know. Seems a bit difficult for Solar to find damage on his opponent, and then safety in his own expansions. This army is not going to win, although Banelings are making connections. It's temporary. Gun went over to defend this base, which has that planetary you can always fall back to. A couple of Widow Mines as well. Solar in some trouble as he loses this hatchery. Was that a kill? It was a kill. Overseer's going down as well, of course. This army does need to be careful as Solar is looking to get the surround. He's pulled together his entire army. Once coming from the backside, once to guarantee those medevacs cannot escape, and by the looks of things, this is going to work. But, I mean, actually, funnily enough, the front army was killed, so Bjorn is able to escape out the front to the left. That surround didn't really turn into a surround. Bjorn getting all the wins right now. 10,000 resource difference as he continues finding not just Nidus Worms, but even the scouting units that, I mean, A, they scout attacks like this, but then B, are potentially positioning the Nidus Worm. so he's getting nothing on the aggression. Another base going to be canceled, and then lift and leave. Solar, like I'm saying, he's having a worse game than last. Nidus Worm down to the bottom right just to try and get some defense on what is actually a very wide map. I think it's like, you talk about maps favoring one race or another, and you think, like, big map probably favors Zerg, right? Because they're the more mobile race for many reasons. But then it really depends on how the bases are clustered. Like, size is a factor, of course. General size, general rush distance is a factor. But then how do they cluster? How does the Terran expand aggressively versus the Zerg? How does the Zerg expand defensively? And so this map, like left to right, takes a long time for either army to get there. Unless it's an Nidus Worm, of course, but still. But it's more like Solar doesn't really find a base under-defended, even when he kind of does. Terran army isn't moving that far left to right as of yet, with this base just barely not going to be defended. Cracklin's doing the job right there. But it was damn close, because it's really not that far away from this base. And I'm interested to see if this map will be in TVZs in the future. It's very, very new stuff. Lurkers being an annoyance. Liberator goes to respond calmly. Nidus Worm to escape. Maybe reinforces. Maybe. Solar is still defending on that left side. Reinforcing over there currently. More spellcasters on the way with Infestors and Vipers. But this is Bjorn re-expanding, although not with a planetary, so it's not going to be that great defensive point. But still trying to re-expand while also having a pretty good attack position. Pushing through this base and into this choke from his own base, so he's defending while, attacking. And Solar, every time he tries to engage, he is going off of creep, of course, but then up a ramp. That's usually not ideal. Infestors make an appearance. Not the greatest fungal to begin with, and an EMP. Make sure there's no second fungal either. And we got a bunch of Liberators. Oh, okay, that's 7 Liberators now positioning themselves. I guess the one Liberator did finally take care of the Lurker presence on the right, so Bjorn has been, again, happily mining on 5 bases. This is his 6th that he is now reestablished, and again, is able to defend while also attacking. Solar... He's I feel like he's trying to kind of head it off at the pass, you know? Nip it in the bud, whatever you want to call it, but it's really quite difficult to do. I mean, regardless of the map, regardless of the Zerg composition, this is just a scary army to be going into. But yeah, it's very difficult for Solar to move into this, but if he just retreats and lets the army continue encroaching, he doesn't really gain any favors there either. You know, there is this middle of the map that you can maybe send Lings through on the backside if you're thinking about it, as this planetary barely doesn't die yet again. Oh, man. And Solar's also getting maybe a bit unlucky. Medevac flies away, but it already killed the hatchery. And then this is just the tightening noose. Vipers try for some abducts. They're successful, but you got to do it over and over and over again. Fill up energy, go back. Fill up energy, go back. And then they could be EMP'd next time. I don't know if Ben was paying attention quick enough. Spire's on the way for some Corruptors, and then possibly Broodlords after the fact, but they're a big question mark right now. Liberator harassment happening, which is both less and more effective, I guess. Terrans have an easier time microing the Liberators with the patches, but the limited range means that they are not as good as abusing these positions. Plus, it looks like the map makers are very, very aware of the Liberator abuse. We'll talk about that in a second, as we have a much more important thing going down, which is apparently, finally, this planetary, finally, totally underdefended, does get taken down by the full might of the Zerg force, but it had already mined so much, and that was the 5th. Bjorn making sure not to let that get any worse, does defend the high ground, still has an army on the left as well, threatening this base. The Liberators realize they don't need to be over there anymore. They are going to reposition over on that right side. Some Shark Festers are ready to ruin Bjorn's day. At this point, that's also not quite Hail Mary, but I think we are getting a little desperate for Solar. Loses 2 bases on the left. I mean, he does have 2 bases on the right, though, at this point. And I don't know how eager Bjorn is going to be to reestablish this base, since it has already mined out. But then again, it is also the safest base that he could take, is it's, anyone who goes to the corner base on this map is actually going quite a ways away from the rest of their bases, the rest of the reinforcements. Yeah, there's like a ton of space behind the mineral line, which helps against Liberator harassment, which is what I meant when the map makers are really aware of that frustration. They've been aware since, like, to the Void. It's just like some maps still, one of the 7th base doesn't quite take into account, so there's like one Liberator that can go into dead space here, and there's not as much space, you know what I mean? This corner base has so much space behind it. Anyway. Liberators are going to re-siege, and like I was saying, this is easier for Terrans to do. It's hard to explain. Much better to see like a comparison between the Liberator bug fix is what they called it, and how it micros and how it sieges. It used to basically hesitate before sieging. Now it doesn't. So that is helping this mobile playstyle. Oh my god, the fungal on the backside. The Infestor, not scanned, gets a couple of great fungals. And Bjorn, well, he did just have his day ruined. He has been losing out in supply for a while at this point, unable to rebuild. Despite having 2 bases, again, the 5-base scenario was set up so quickly and so nicely, it was truly terrifying. For a minute, 12 to 18 or whatever it was. But then they were mining out. One of them was killed. The other one is mining out. And Bjorn just simply does not have mining. He has never accumulated that much of a bank. Resource trades also, while good for him, 14,000. He just has not been able to kill, I guess, the same amount of bases that he did in the last game, that Solar has been able to build up. And he does get taken down. GG's. Solar takes game 2. on Throne of the Dunes, which like he takes the game overall. That was a very tough game for him. I wonder what that's going to look like the more that people play on it. I think what really makes that map interesting to me, while I keep talking about it, is the corner bases being so far away. My thoughts on the Broodlord nerf? That they did it because they buffed him with the bug fix. Was it necessary? Did they need a nerf to counteract the buff? I don't know. What holds me up about talking about the Broodlord is that it really isn't used that often. Which might be like, okay, well, you admit that, so they should just do nothing but buff the Broodlord, right? Because they're not used. Right? And it's like, well, I don't really want Broodlords to be a part of the game either, though. That's the conundrum. This is an interesting map, though. Bottom left, it is Beyond. Top right, it is Solar. Wow, okay. Celestial Enclave. Oh, this looks cool. So you have an in-base natural, but it's a half base. Half minerals, only one gas. Not the first time we've seen that. Then the third base has a lot of space over the left. This is where you would wall, obviously. Is that breakable? Is that a timed breakable? I don't know what that is. But if it's breakable, then obviously that adds another dimension to this. If it's not, then okay, whatever. There is a space for drones to mine what looks to be very few minerals. It is breakable, thank you. Oh yeah, you can actually tell because the minimap. The minimap shows destructible rocks. So I don't know how powerful it is. I don't know how healthy it is. How much armor it has, but if you can break it, then you can either break it defensively. Terran breaks it here, for instance, takes this as their fourth. Or, of course, the Zerg could try and break it, but I don't think that's going to be happening. More so, maybe TVP? I'm trying to think. I'm assuming they're talking about the maps, and I'm not even trying to read. Three base setup, and then you choke, and then you go over there, and then it's through the middle to get to your opponent. As opposed to if you take this third, don't break those, and then you go over here, and it's through here and then here. I don't know. It kind of feels like this is going to be a situation where the Terran's just going to break them and then take them defensively. Which this is not the first map that this has happened. Can't think of the other map. But I can guarantee there's another map where there's a similar setup. Alright, well, we're going to see this obviously play out, so we'll just hold on. Other bases, anything interesting? No like rich Vespian or gold minerals. I'm liking it, though. I like how different it is. I like that it's on a sandy map after we just got a couple. There is seems to be a lot of dead zones, so as far as fear of Nidus Worms, fear of War Prisms, fear of drops, I do want to account for that. So you see Beyond putting a Splat Heap over there, we'll probably put a Splat Heap over there. And then, particularly if the Zerg is going to expand left, I would generally encourage the Terran to expand left as well. So again, they have that jumping off point that also defends their base to a certain extent. And then would you expand over there? Middle bases are pretty far away. You have another. Oh, here's a rush. Here we go. Here's a rich Vespian geyser. Another half minerals as well in the middle. So you take that as your 5th, and then maybe you take this as your 6th. I don't know for the Zerg perspective. I mean, obviously, solar is just expanded horizontally. Is not taking this space, which is pretty typical as far as these hanging, safe, natural bases go. Particularly if they are half bases as well, of course. But even if this was a full base, leaving that for later is generally what Zergs do. Back in the day, when there was more maps that had these bases that kind of hung off the side of the infrastructure, you also had mutas more in play. And mutas could do a great job harassing bases like this. We don't really have that anymore, though, so don't think we're going to see it. This was a very macro-oriented build from Beyond. He's got a 3rd CC into a factory, sure, but then only 2 Hellions. Literally, yeah, just the only 2 Hellions. Then right into building barracks. Only now building a starport. Solar's gotten up to a good number of drones. Blaying us on the way. Lair is finishing up. 4th base should be taken relatively soon. He is breaking the blockade. Just a handful of Lings able to do it fairly quickly. And then takes us as a 4th. Which I think both teams will always do. I'm trying to think of a situation in which a race or a matchup would not want to break these rocks. And would, you know, just continue to expand over to the right side and the right side and the right side. I just can't think. That's not really, I think, a thing. Because the more that you don't take care of this, the more that becomes your opponent's avenue of attack. So you can't just, I mean, even if he had left this unkilled, it still would eventually be killed by Solar, probably. Imagine he expands like 4th and then 5th base, and this entire left side is just totally unscouted. He is building a spire. I mean, I didn't think it was going to happen, but he is building a spire. Obviously, we all want more Muta play, so this is good news. And I point out, you know, that they call them the hanging naturals, or kind of where Mutas can really find a lot of success. Because they are hanging out away from the production. So the reinforcements, they want to protect this 3rd base, they gotta go way over there. Then they gotta go in through their main, SimCity, messing them up, into the natural, which the mutas obviously can just dance around here and then say, haha, suckers, and then leave without running over more reinforcements and a 4th base that has a couple missile turrets. You know, they have a freebie exit to the north. A couple queens, I think, went down. Yeah, 3 queens actually went down. So that drop initially was taken care of very quickly, very well. And I still think overall, this is a good cleanup from Solar, but he did end up losing 3 queens to it. Wants to make sure that, I suppose, you know, in the same way that mutas can also abuse how you just escape, obviously they're also going to be used defensively to make sure medevacs can't just drop in, escape, drop in, escape. But when you go into those mutas, eventually you usually have a moment where the Ling Baneling muta is going to take more of that map control, more of the map presence. I don't even know if Bjorn saw those mutas, by the way. Yeah, he did not. He definitely did not. And this didn't have to... Oh! Oh! Yeah, I thought you had to mine those out. Apparently, it's like 2 mineral patches that the SCVs can get through. Didn't look like it, but now I know, and Bjorn was able to use it. 9 SCVs go down. Mutas were a big surprise. Beyond did not see them. Had no idea. 9 SCVs ain't too bad, though, as your 4th base finishes to replace. I mean, not bad at all. Overall, a good first strike for the mutas, but nothing to write home about. Still investing in them, by the way. Did get +1 flyer. This medevac will be cleaned up. Seems kind of inevitable. Creep spreads decent. Wants to get up this pathway too, though. That's the scariest thing. Oh, goodbye, Muta. Solar supply does look really good. He's starting up 2-2. Overlord speed. He also got Infestation Pit, so he is ready to move on to Hive. Seems like a very solid setup for him. Beyond is moving out, though, and there's still not a lot of creep spread on this high ground. It's nowhere close to a base as of yet, though, so this is still creep spread to give warning and to allow some preparation. Taking a look at how an engagement could happen, like theoretically, a Zerg player could try and get, you know, big old surround coming in through all 3 ramps. Easier said than done. And still, you know, once you do lose this creep spread, which, you know, effectively is already lost, you are going up a ramp, kind of blind, into the Terran, so it's not great. Apparently, no Mr. was built at the natural. The Mutas did just go around the other direction, which Bjorn was hoping they wouldn't. And, you know, there is a bit of a dance. As the Terran applies pressure, the Mutas might feel obligated to come back home and help defend. The Mutas might go for a risky maneuver and go for the harassment, but in this case, I think this is working out really well for Solar. We got the harassment, 13 SCVs killed, distraction as well, and then also was looking for an engagement. Bjorn was paying attention, however, and this is, again, up a ramp, off of creep eventually. Takes what he can get on the front line Marauders, and will skedaddle away from the Marines. Only Marines aren't really wanting to engage any further, however. So that's going to force Bjorn back. Both players pretty happy on their economies. Moving on to 5 bases for Bjorn, and again, I guess he takes this base. And then this might be a 6th. It would be interesting to see him try and take an aggressive 5th, though. Because I feel like if you were able to make your claim on this position high ground, it would be rather disruptive to the Zerg. You know, maybe in the future. Maybe we'll see that. But obviously, Bjorn is taking his base. So, Solar, he has gotten a base off to the right side. The corner doesn't feel as far away. Although, it actually might be. It doesn't feel... Like, the last map felt like it was so far away. Or so isolated, maybe, is more the issue. I'm not sure. But it seems about the same distance. Could take this one. Obviously, could take this one. And actually, depending on if Bjorn does expand here, or maybe he would expand there, Solar could have this entire right side of the map. I'm not sure what's going to happen as of yet. Missiles are going to be mass repair, but that is a lot of mutas, 16 of them with +1, so eventually it does fall. Bjorn sends back a squad of Marines, and that will be good enough, while also attacking on the front lines. Solar was trying to put that creep spread in more offensive position. Well, it does force another scan, but now this base could be in trouble. This is a Rich Vespian Geyser. I think Solar needs it right now, but it would be nice to have. Mutas have been pushed back. Eventually, might get rid of them entirely in a cost-efficient-ish way, but still, he might, you know, sacrifice them later on. So we're getting closer to getting to those ultras. Chitinous plating is on the way. 3-3 for the Zerg. Not that far behind. The 3-3 of the Terran. Bjorn getting a little onto the creep, and Solar is going to engage because of that. Widow Mines. Not going to get great shots. Last-second splits. Little counter micro looked like from Bjorn. Actually, just ended up not shooting the Widow Mine. There we go. And most of the Widow Mines have been activated. There are only 8 Widow Mines on the field, which, I mean, is a good number if they're all right here, but they're all spread around. Marines trying to back up to them, let those Marauders on the front line die. Mass changelings just be super annoying. Very disruptive, honestly, if there's that many. Altars are on the way. Marauders have been depleted. They're being rebuilt, but usually at this point when Ultras are on the way, you don't be talking about Ghosts. Still no Ghost Academy. And Bjorn... Oh, yeah, Widow Mines, Widow Mines. And Bjorn could be in for a rude awakening. That the Bio Army that he has, with 3 Marauders at a time being produced, will hold the line against Ultras for a little while. Just, yeah, we're nowhere near Ghosts. Solar could take a good engagement, especially if he gets a surround. Still not able to do so. This choke really being abused. The tall grass also hiding was really behind that a lot of the time. Muta's once again going in for some harassment. 13 SCVs were killed. Wanted the armory, the armor, excuse me, as well. Not going to find it, though. And it looks like Solar went in once again and is forced to retreat. These Ultras left alone are easily kited, easily microed against these Mutas. They might not be fighting a lot of damage now that their armies are split up defending against them, but that means there's a sizable chunk of Bjorn's army back at home defending against them. And now Bjorn has entirely pulled back. Solar deciding this might be a moment to get aggressive. Go on the offensive. He is going to go after this planetary mass repair in action. Going to be good enough with the rest of the army coming on in. Solar is not going to dedicate to it. Honestly, not a lot of room to play with there. You know, Bjorn can get a concave over here. He can, I mean, I don't know how often he's going to get like a huge concave. This actually shouldn't really be that much of a concave. On the top side, yes, but the actual avenue to get to that base on the right side is pretty far away. That just worked out as far as the reinforcements or the army that was guarding the SCVs against the Mutas. Anyway, it becomes a choke. Becomes a choke very quickly, right? Solar comes in from this direction. Suddenly there's a bio-army concave. I don't think that looks very good to me. Maybe he avoids the planetary and goes up the natural? It could be something useful for the future. You know, you kill supply depots now, they don't get rebuilt, and then you come in later with cracklings. But that is, again, for the future. Engineering Bay is once again going to be targeted. I mean, nothing important researching on them now, but could be in the future. Wood mines are going to burrow up, but that's the choke that I was talking about. Wood mines are burrowed up behind the army. They fall back to it, and that is a lot of bio. The Ultras, left alone once again, are going to be forced to flee. They are not getting this planetary. There's such limited space for the Zerg to maneuver here. You know, like the chokes are very defensively. Very good defensively for the Terran. I mean, it's actually a bit of a conundrum because this would be the base. It's on the front. It's the one that he gets to the quickest. Feels like if Bjorn is slightly out of position, Solar should be able to get this one, but it's not happening. I feel like the way that it's positioned too, also like limited like surface area for the Zerg player. Yeah, this is maybe not the point that Solar really wants to be hammering, although he does finally get it as soon as I talk about it. It's not going to cost him a ton of units. A lot was used right there. He did come in from probably the better angle, but then ultimately he is looking at grabbing the planetary and just the planetary, because going through this choke would be so difficult. Well, moving on, we got ourselves a 5th base kill, but also another base I think was already built. No, that's the main. Fair enough. Bjorn did not build excess command centers. Hasn't quite had the cash for it. Is going to get some revenge, however, kills this hatchery. Is looking for more, but is going deeper and deeper onto creep, which is quite scary. Solar is still able to re-max his own 3/3 upgrades. He actually got a +3 for the mutas. Didn't even notice that. Jesus. They're all dead now. Not important. We got to get off of that creep, which Bjorn does. Falling back to a wood mine field. And Ultras left alone to make them so targetable. Ghost would still be a lovely addition, but clearly Bjorn's working intentionally without them. He is still killing these Ultras. One more about to fall. The rest, they're going to die too. The transfuses come in clutch to save one of them. But this one could be focus fired. Oh, the mutas are still alive! Hello! The mutas are still here, and they come in as the Marines have all been depleted. Medivacs and Marauders fleeing from the scene. As now Solar realizes, hey, muta's doing pretty well. He's at 19. He's adding on 8 more. We needed a couple of Thors in the mix to help out here. I didn't realize how tenacious these mutas were going to be. I thought they were dead, first of all, but then coming in, 18 of them was +3 attack. I mean, they are spicy. Usually 1 or 2 Thors are added in, even if they only have +1 flyer, and that just didn't happen here, and Bjorn is reeling from that. He is actually probably going to lose because of that. He was in a good place. He was killing all the Ultras. If he had 30 Marines, mutas still do not want to tackle that. The Marines had gone down. And having to go all the way back home, losing his economy. He did get a drop, dealing some damage, but really not a lot. And Bjorn, well, he's going to, kind of frankly lose to mutas at this point. The Thor is now on the way. Widowmines would have loved to have helped out, but they were all in the wrong position. And now they're being cleaned up, which is a huge loss for Bjorn. Solar only lost the 1 hatchery too. This one's been mining. This one is now up for mining. Solar needs it. He doesn't right now. Yeah, Bjorn is pretty damn dead. Wouldn't mind even getting friendly fire. All the Marines one-shot. GG's, Solar with a Muta build in Game 3. We'll take the series and advance on in the bracket. GG's. Zerg lives. This has taken a while compared to the other matchups. Skillis defeated Hero 2-1. Max Pax defeated Trigger 2-0. Clem awaited the winner of this, which is obviously Solar, so we gotta head over to NA. What's your least favorite current map? I don't have any favorites or least favorite maps. Basically, I never have. There was a time where, years ago, where I would actually just track how good I am on a map. And that would be maybe a favorite map of mine. But it's been years since I've done that. And then I don't pay attention. I'm not try hard enough to care about maps, basically. Play random with some really bad games. I mean, I play random. Well, I play random until I get tired of Zerg, and then I play Terran and Protoss. I'm the ultimate... I don't even know how you would call it. Like, elitist isn't the right word. Maybe in some ways. Like, I'm the ultimate... self-blame elitist, I guess. You know, people, they think are, you know, right to have maps they don't like, and they do like, obviously. And they also have the right to opinions, you know, such as, like, I don't like playing versus Storm, of course. But for me, you know, I see a lot of people talk about how, you know, like, oh, I don't like this map, I lose a lot on this map, or, oh, I don't like this map, it's abusable by, you know, Terran drops, and I think it's bullshit. Or... yeah, Storm is stronger now, and I think, you know, now I'm losing all my TVPs. Whatever it is. And I don't empathize. I sympathize, maybe, but I don't empathize. Because whenever I do play StarCraft, especially nowadays where I care less about winning as well, but even before, even as much as I wanted to balance mine or blame the map or... blame how much easier it was for my opponent to do whatever they did to me, I would try and hold off on it. I might let it slip because everyone gets aggravated, but I'd be like, nope, my macro was really bad. My micro was really bad. Yeah, I just can't control this late game army. Yeah, I should have expected the big drop into my natural. That was obvious, but I know a lot of things. I can't do a lot of things. Typical StarCraft problem. Like, of course I'll get aggravated facing a mech player, but then I'll just be like, well, ZombieGrub, why didn't you attack faster? Why didn't you macro better? Why didn't you just play like Maru? What the fuck's wrong with you? So I think as I said, I don't really empathize very well when people come in and they're like, this patch sucks! This patch is the reason I'm losing X, Y, and Z! And I'm like, is it the patch? Is it though? You sure? I don't know about this one. Only thing worth whining about are bugs. Even then, I you know, very often... unless they're truly stupid. I don't know, like the Command Center one or... What's another bug that I was directly impacted? I actually can't think of any. I know they existed, though. I know there was bugs that existed that I was really bothered by. And I can't think of them. there is one There's like, I remember the feeling of being so mad at this bug, but I don't remember what the bug was. And it was so old. I'm thinking like 6 years ago or something. I don't know. I would not have been, I didn't play when the Ghost was free supply, but I wouldn't have been bothered by Ghost free supply. You know how many times I would have said that guy won because his Ghost gave him free supply? I can actually predict, I think, accurately, 0 times I would have said that. Because 0 times would I maybe have even played against Ghosts. They are late game units, and not every game goes late game. And you know, second of all, I would have been like, yeah, I would have died here anyway. Like, if I imagine myself playing Zerg versus Ghosts or playing Protoss versus Ghosts, I would have been like, yeah, that didn't kill me. I feel like the bug that I was bothered by was like something with like the ramps on like on a couple of maps. It was like more like a map bug, maybe. I don't know why. Now that I'm thinking about it, I really want to remember it, but I can't remember it. Yeah. Okay, well that sounds pretty, that's probably it then. 6 years ago, ramp bug, desync. This there's enough similar keywords, it probably was that, yeah. Because I think I was playing a lot too, and that's when I was still trying to actually get better. You know, it's been years since I've tried to improve. Because improving at StarCraft is hard. But I was actually trying at that point. And I feel like it affected me disproportionately. All right, I did remember at the last second to get the new overlay, but I did not have time to change the setting, so... Next game. I also do wonder if maybe my computer can hold onto high. I don't want to change it during the game, though. I can change the overlay, because that won't affect anything. I don't want to change the graphics in case everything crashes. Anyway, we are good to go. Got almost everything set up. I'm getting into the groove of casting after some technical problems really threw me off. In the bottom right, we do have Team Liquid's clan. In the top left of Taito Citadel. It is Solar. Solar just defeated Bjorn in a damn good TVZ. I don't think I was giving it the best casting, having all the distractions up that I have. But hopefully you can focus in. Fresh TVZ here. Still new maps as well, which is, you know, I'm just going to say it, like, you know, some of the finer details of some of these games might be missed because I'm looking at the map. This map has cool design. Tons of open space in the main. Natural, pretty large wall. Thinking for the Protoss. That seems like a really large wall. Wait a minute. Really? Wait, like gateway. Is that has to be a 3-building wall off of the Protoss, right? That can't be 2 buildings and a pylon. This seems really big. Anyone know? We don't have a Protoss. For once, we don't have a Protoss in the game, am I right? But seriously, this seems like big. Seems like a big one. Not quite Daedalus Point, which, if you don't know, was probably the memeiest map for Protoss walls. But seems pretty big. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, like, what was actually better, 10 years ago, isn't it? On the topic of nostalgia. Clem actually SCV scouts, by the way. Maybe just including it in CVZ nowadays. Solar's not particularly cheesy, so I wouldn't have said that. Maybe, like, the maps. He wants to know... I don't know, maybe... Like, the SCV scout could even just literally be for, like... seeing how the SCV moves through the map. Or, yeah, or he's playing super safe. Whatever. But this is, what was I talking about? Shit. Oh, I was talking about nostalgia, but now I'm looking at the map and the rush distance. It also seems like a pretty big map. Right? How did that do that? It went, like, up there? And then through... Oh, what's going on in here? There's a forest going on. There's a forest. Covering the Zelnaga. Okay. No bases around it. This is a... big gold base corners, gold base. Oh, it's asymmetrical. Oh, interesting. This isn't a corner base. And this isn't a gold anyway. Ooh. And there just doesn't seem to be that many bases. Well, I mean, it's still 6 bases per person, and then 2 shared bases. They fight over these bases. So that actually is pretty normal, but it still seems like... I guess it's just so much space where there's no base. There's just all this space here, for instance, through the middle, where there's just no base anywhere close. Presumably the Reaper hasn't done a whole lot. No, actually 0. 0 damage done. We'll get a Protoss eventually. Although versus Zerg, I'm not sure, but we will get a Protoss eventually, and maybe on this map. Reaper finally goes down. It's a little bold to go back in there. And it looks like a 4 Hellion opener. Before swapping off, third CC is done and getting up to that 2-1-1 situation. So very macro. And Solar is doing something similar. Solar did add on mutas in the last best of 3, but I think it might have been map particular. I don't know. The muta, or the Spire changes have really encouraged that much more muta play, but if a map kind of calls for it to a certain degree, go for it. Does this map call for it? I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing it. We are getting a lair, Baneling Nest. Be awesome if muta's made its way back into the meta. But I don't think this would actually be that great. Attacking the natural is not that easy. Attacking the main actually is not that easy either. Kind of covered by the third as well. A lot of space here though. Worried about like doom drops in TVT. Which we don't see. We don't see at all. Because certain Terrans play Protoss when they face other Terrans. Apparently these are rocks you can break down. I don't know if that would be a situation that Solar would want to break down for the other access. I don't know. He's keeping them up. He is keeping them up, so it's not nearly as obvious as some of the other maps where you do just automatically break these rocks. Apparently there's also some over here that creates more of a choke. Queens are... Okay, maybe the queens meant to kill the rocks. They suddenly went on a trip. Maybe there's a little bug. I don't know what's going on there. Now they've shift queued back to a much safer location, but they are going to be late to helping these queens against this drop. So whatever happened there is going to have... They're doing it again! Oh, what is going on? Oh, what is happening? Oh no, Solar's going to be so annoyed by that. Because the queens are almost certainly were not supposed to be there in the first place. He must have told them to go down here, creep spread, and then wanted to creep spread over here. And that's why they were here in the first place. But yeah, oh well. Even trying to control them additionally while defending, he still didn't get them to go the right way. 2 Medivacs, though, are pushed back, regardless of the queens being total losers. And that is important. Solar does not take much damage from that, if any at all. Lost a queen, 7 lings, an overlord. Not too bad. Second factory on the way here for Clem. 4th CC, not yet, but should be the case. Yeah. No 8 racks. And there's a little more pressure on this top side. Seems to be the point of attack. The Clem clears up the creep spread. Loses his Hellions, 2 of them anyway. Clears up the creep spread now. Attacks there later. I would say this map does not really have a very clear expand and push avenue for the Terran. Some maps you look at it and you're like, well, I clearly expand there, and then push there, which did happen in the last few maps we've been seeing. This map, I don't think so, because the middle of this map is just so open. Yeah, there are chokes and there's all this going on right here, but it's not anything important that you're pushing into or taking for yourself. So this could be, you know what, it kind of reminds me of, oh man, but I wouldn't remember the name, would I? There's a very large map back in 2020. It was played for Katowice. And it was a desert map. Well, it reminds me of that map, but there's also another one that it reminds me of. I think that was more like 2024, where like the Cyclone vs. Cyclone shit was happening. Not super important, but more so these maps meant that the Terrans didn't really do a lot of these super aggressive big pushes through the middle. They did tend to go into these very much longer games where the Terran would even, I dare say, turtle more. Because it was so difficult to actually, again, protect your base while also pushing into the Zerg like you would usually want to do. Little double-double action going on, of course. Clem trying to keep tabs on the Zerg and their bases, but even as he does rally more units up to this top side, Solar has been able to push out a lot of creep spread. Once this base up and running, and that's, I guess, where Clem could also attack into, but he continues attacking up to the north with using the chokier choke. I don't know. Maybe Clem is also like, where the hell do I push? Like, how do I do this? Because you can't just ignore... You can't just run past this, right? Because if you run past this to set up here... well, I mean, then the Zerg would have to be going through this choke, and I guess that is the plan. It seems like a dangerous one, but that is the plan. Solar, you know, he's got to try and at least coming from the backside he would expect. He's going to go for a run-by. Fourth base, not yet a planetary, but just about to be, so this won't do a lot of damage. And Solar already withdrawing. It isn't all of Clem's army on the top. He is also attacking to the left. Lots of creep spread here. But still difficult to react to this fast. And oh boy, this is not looking very good at all. Oh no, the drones! So Solar is trying to take this gold base. And he is going to be punished for it. And more than that, he's going to start to lose the game. Yeah, that snowballed. That snowballed. 60, 70 supply difference at the end. Wow. Like I said, I mean, we're going to be paying attention to some of the map dynamics, but... Yeah, if a Terran gets to that location, that top right location, not the left location, that is difficult for the Zerg to break. And I guess that is the question, is like, do they get there or are they intercepted out in the big open area that is the middle of the map? You know, if they are, then maybe that benefits the Zerg, but then Zerg is typically more defensive for so much of ZVT that they're not going to easily be able to stop the Terran forces from getting to that choke. Interesting. It's fun having new maps. It's fun for us to watch, frustrating for the players. In that case, absolutely more frustrating for the Zerg. Terrans do tend to get the benefit of new maps. Or there it is, you know, super abusive tank positions. Or, I would say just the way that they're able to kind of control the narrative for a little while. As the kind of aggressive race in the early to mid game. Certainly in this matchup, somewhat in TVP still. But that was probably the most frustrating map for Solar that we've seen, like an obvious frustration with those queens and the movement of them. Yeah, that could be a sore point in the future too. Well, we'll see. Top right Clam, bottom left Solar. This is also going to give a glimpse to all these professionals. Their feelings on the map, their initial feelings before it gets onto the ladder. Before it gets to be an even bigger tournament. And I'm guessing Solar didn't like that last one. Screw that map, I'm not choosing that again. We're on Old Republic, which we saw in Beyond vs. Solar, but it was the map that I was unable to pay much attention to. Paying attention to it now. What do we got here? Natural is so much space in the back. What is up with that? What are you just asking for Nidus rooms? Fuck. And then ramp, but not on the actual natural. Over to the third. It's decent distance away from the third. This is where Beyond was able to get his fourth and his fifth. So it was the second map, maybe? Maybe I was paying attention to this one. It says the Rush Vespian Geyser. The corner base. I think this is game 2, actually, of Beyond versus Solar. Solar is able to win. Oh, no. It doesn't matter. We're going to see what it looks like in Clem versus Solar. I mean, Clem and Beyond, they can do similar things. Terrans, I'm not going to say limited on their opening builds, but a lot of them choose to do the same opening build, which is 3CC. 2-1-1, fairly popular. If not that, then a 1-1-1. And Solar, I don't think, will be very eager to even try and cheese. I mean, Solar can throw in cheeses. You can throw in Roach play. You can throw in Muta play, as we saw. But it is kind of more difficult to, I think, to throw in the cheese as a Zerg player on new maps. As a Terran player, again, I think maybe you get the benefit of new maps when it comes to cheesing. Because, for instance, if you do decide to proxy 2 racks or 3 racks, it's far less likely the Zerg will know the likely locations. Once they know the map, they'll send their Overlord in the right space at the right time and all that, but on new maps, not so much. Engineering Bay block the third? Okay. I think this is especially cruel on new maps, even if it's a map that has an okay other third to take. It just is still, you know, they're all... The players are already trying to, like, figure things out on the fly to a certain degree on new maps. And then to do it on a map that does not have a very accessible second third. That is actually very mean. It's mean, Clem. It's mean. Not gonna lose his Reaper either. That's also mean. Give Solar something. Throw him a fucking bone. Come on. This was a 2 Reaper opener, by the way. Didn't even notice. SCV does leave only after blocking the hatchery forever. He's gonna wait till the very last second. Yeah, this is a big delay. I mean, this is effectively probably very close to if you had like 2 racks open on the offensive. You know, the 2 racks opener into 3 to 5 Reaper. That a Zerg player has to respect and also has to default delay their third hatch. Probably similar effect to that, which means Solar isn't totally out of his wheelhouse, muttering and cursing the Terran for already winning the game, but it still, I would almost be certain, very annoying. Third base now underway. The 4th base is here, I guess. But again, you're expanding towards your opponents. That wouldn't be super ideal. I'm going to guess it's going to go here. Clem opts for another 4 Hellion opener. No, he's going to go up to 6 because he is grabbing a Banshee, although he's supply blocked, which... alert the presses. He mistimed the command center, I think. I think that was supposed to give him the correct supply. And then, of course, you build supply depots after that, but I think he mistimed the command center. It's not Clem. It's not Clem. It's an imposter. No. Whatever it was, it is now rectified. 6 Hellions and into the Banshees with speed, which seems to be the new hot thing. Cloak is so old. Cloak is the boomer upgrade. I think we'll go back into Cloak at some point. I've not been very impressed with the speed Banshee plays in any matchup so far. Like, they're about as impressive as Cloak was, which is that sometimes they seem to do a lot of damage when they shouldn't, but most of the time they don't do a lot. So I'd say that, yeah, that pretty much sums up Cloak and the speed Banshee as well. And they're just 2 different ways of using the Banshee, so I don't know. But clearly the people are liking the experimentation with the speed Banshee, and more power to them. Maybe this will be the de facto upgrade. Maybe it'll change, but we got change up once again from Solar. He's gonna go into the Mutas on Old Republic. This is not the map he did it versus Beyond. but he liked the game, maybe. Queen, this one was just out on her lonesome. Next two queens come to top out, but yeah, Queen's alone not going to take care of this. Ling's forced to make an appearance, microing against it while also microing at home. Clem is going to be able to save the Hellions, use the corner. Yeah, not going to save all the Hellions, that's for sure, but he also had to deal with the run by in the natural, which he did. 4 SCVs were killed, maybe a couple of Marines, and it looks like 2 Hellions and a Reaper were able to escape. For Solar, did he reveal mutas? Nope. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. No way that Clem knows that mutas are on the way. So he will not have missile turrets. Solar is going for this 3-base muta. Not gonna give him a lot. Banshee's making an appearance. Don't they wish they had Cloak now? And not that this is usually the dynamic anyway, but if you are a muta Banshee game, Banshees with Cloak really are necessary against mutas. Not because they can't grab an Overseer, but because if you get speed then after, what the mutas, what the Banshees then outrun is the Overseer itself, not the mutas. So, yeah, just speed doesn't cut it. This is an aggressive maneuver from Solar, by the way. You know, this is not the same type of muta build that he did versus Byun, where it was kind of macro, basically, muta. This is attack muta. No upgrades, no 4th hatchery. Honestly, very limited gas. No gas at his 3rd base. This is all in. This is old school, even. I don't think Clem is prepared for this. He was already surprised by the mutas. He does react about as fast as humanly possible, though. Picks up his Marines on the left side. Walls off the right side. Now can go for a little bit of a split. 3rd CC can take some damage, and the SCVs, well, they might have to be forfeit, but for the greater good. Solar is on such a low economy that Clem can really sacrifice quite a lot, just as long as he survives. Great, what a mun shot to help, too. And that is actually going to force Solar to tap out. He knows that everything else is about to be cleaned up. The mutas would not buy that much time. And his supply was in the absolute gutter. The all-in does not work. It's really supposed to surprise. Okay, well, that button doesn't work anymore. It was really supposed to surprise, shock and awe. Get Clem not paying attention to his Marines balled up outside of the wall. Get this around, get the easy dub. That's a build I've seen recently, but one we did used to see. It worked less and less, though. Mutas faded away because they worked less and less. That all-in was already fading away. It's kind of cool to see it come back at least once, though. It's like seeing an old friend. So that was pretty quick. And now Clem moves on to face... Any guesses? Any guesses? Any guesses? It's Clem in the upper bracket final of an open cup. That's right, it's Max Pax. Clem versus Max Pax. Which, to be fair, has not happened as often as it did like 6 months ago, when it was the only finals we ever had. Because Clem didn't play in a lot of these open cups for a while. Then the one they did play, he lost before he got this far. Yeah, he lost versus Hero. There you go. Hasn't happened since Wordy Cup this morning. Well, if Clem's playing reliably in open cups again, then it's going to happen again. I mean, really the reason it wasn't happening was because Clem was not playing in the open cups. Byun is still alive in the lower bracket. Hero's still alive in the lower bracket. Hero versus Solar is happening as a best of 1 in that lower bracket. I'm sure someone's covering it. This is still a best of 3 because it's the upper bracket finals. It's not the grand finals. My setup is different, although it shouldn't seem that different to y'all. Aside from maybe the graphics. Oops. I actually should have forgot my hair was in a ponytail. I was cleaning earlier. Yep. I can't. Okay, good enough. Just waiting on the lobby. You always root for the underdog? I guess Clem is the underdog at this point versus Max Pax. Let's check that. Yeah. Well. So Clem still overall has a winning record for sure. But the last 3 times they face each other, Max Pax has won. 0-1, 2-3, 2-3. Very close though. One of those was in the Team Liquid map contest, so these two should be kind of familiar with the maps. They should have an idea of which ones they definitely don't like, at the very least. I'm gonna step out for 1 second. Cool. Didn't miss a thing. Yeah, the reason I have a bit of a different setup is that I've sent my main PC alongside some lighting and a bunch of different electronics out to Las Vegas with my father, who is road tripping. So I've got 2 laptops, each connected to a separate monitor, and that seems to be doing well enough. It's the winners finals, so not the grand finals yet, but it's a familiar matchup. In the top right, it is Clem. Bottom left, it is Max Pax, who sends out a very quick probe. These two face off against each other in the TLMC, so they have played on the new maps a little bit more, and specifically against each other than some other players, so they should have at least the map that they hate the most in mind. Apparently, this isn't it. Andromeda was chosen, was allowed on through. But Max Pax is using maybe still the overall newness to actually be... Well, I would say cheesier than usual, and I think that is generally true. Max Pax has not done a lot of cheeses in the previous 2 years, really. Throws them in every now and again, as seen here, but we do have to remember, once upon a time, he was most well known for doing exactly this, actually. He was most well known for doing what people dubbed the Max Pax. Proxying a gateway and then, just using that to pressure while actually... Oh, I thought that was a factory. Never mind. And then actually building, macroing at home. So it's funny to think, he did start off that way. He started off as the cheeky guy, and then really he just isn't that much of a cheeser. As I've explained before, Max Pax has his own way of playing StarCraft 2, but it's not a cheesy or aggressive at all anyway, which is usually what we talk about. It's kind of like a code for being cheesy when we're like, this guy just has his own unique way of playing, aka he's cheesy. But not Max Pax, but he did start off that way. And so this is happening once again. Clem did go for an engineering bay block, which is fine-ish for Max Pax. He does plan on expanding. So that, I say fine-ish because I wonder... So Clem has not gotten to scout the main. So, there's two... Each one has a bit of a problem. More, though, Clem needs to make sure that he doesn't die or take unnecessary damage, I suppose you would say to this. High ground command center is already a fantastic sign for him. So even though he didn't actually scout the main base and he sees a probe seemingly trying to get a nexus, he's still maybe okay, what if something is up? And he does take the very cautious path to go for that high ground command center. Still, oh no, he lets us silence it! Oh, what the fuck? Is that just game? Guys? I think he just loses. I think he just loses. He's gonna lose so much money. The good news is Max Pax is still on one base. He actually did not go for the Nexus. He went for the Robo, and I think this is why Clem isn't giving up. If there was a Nexus building and finishing, I feel like he would have given up. But because it is one base versus one base, but even then, that's still not a great sign. All right, a Nexus means you're definitely not going to recover economically. No Nexus means they're following up with an attack, and you have nothing to defend against that. Either way, yeah, the supply depots being down kills him. So, yeah. How about that? And he was on it too. He was 100% on it. High ground command center, a little sus. Then it was a couple more seconds of extremely sus. He was like, oh, okay, he's doing something. So he builds a bunker. Those are the two things he needed to do. And then he missed the third thing, which was raising the depot. Oh, boy. Surprisingly quick game number one. Top right of Old Republic, it is Clem. Bottom left, Max Pax. He did the Max Pax. It did seem like he may have truly intended to take a Nexus. It is kind of hard to say, as when he was consistently denied a Nexus, he did build a Robo. But I feel like he was getting up to 400 minerals. And didn't have the appropriate... if he was really streamlining his way to a Robo gateway follow-up, I don't think he banks that much money and has the appropriate number of gas instead. So I think he was doing the Max Pax, what we remember it if you were here 3 or 4 years ago. But it was turning into an all-in anyway. Which Clem was going to struggle to hold against, even if he had taken down that stalker he was chasing after. One, supply depot not lifted, kills you. Does suck. Doesn't happen very often, though. It's the only thing you can console yourself with. Max Pack's scouting around for... Yeah, proxy could happen, but then also, obviously, if we're in the engineering bay block SCV, that might have already sent across and waiting. There is nothing of the sort. Certainly not a proxy barracks, which would have been on probably around here. There could still be an SCV coming across for engineering bay block, for all Max Pax knows, but he is now going to get his scout on what is going to be a 1 Rax expand. Spent 400 CC. That actually didn't... That wasn't going to kill Clem, though. Like, I guess I'm not talking about it, because I forget to mention that the command center wasn't going to kill Clem. Like, most defenses to Max Pax's... The Max Pax were with the command center. Beyond that, I would say still, most defenses against a 1-base cheese from Protoss still actually have a command center. Because most often you don't scout it fast enough, and then there's kind of weird things that happen with a 1-base versus 1-base scenario anyway. So I think if Clem had just raised his supply depot, his command center finishes, he holds the high ground, he starts building Marines, he gets a scout on the follow-up, and he still actually has options to win that game. Is it difficult? Yeah, of course, but I think he would have been able to. Twilight Council's on the way as things look a lot more normal in game 2. Max Pax is grabbing a couple of adepts. No stalkers as of yet. There's a stalker. But did that Reaper see the Twilight Council? See the Twilight Council? It did not. 9 times out of 10. Max Pax goes for a Twilight Council. You can just assume that. 9 times out of 10. In this case, it would be correct. We got Clem going for a fast second barracks. No starport build here. Going into a 2-1-1 or going into some type of GQ early game push. Time will tell. We get Robo is Max Pax's bread and butter. And now the Reaper has at least seen that the Robo is being built at that typical timing. Adepts do get into the natural for some annoyance. One has already gone down. Second one now under fire. Did they kill any SCVs? One SCV has died in this game. And it looks like that Reaper is in some serious trouble. The Reaper is going to win against it. Yep. Good micro. Cyclone is also there to help out, but it even looked like Clem almost kept that secret. I was gonna say, like, this could have been a starport. You know, he did have enough gas, just barely, but that would have been a delayed one. That still wouldn't have been the streamlined 2-1-1 TVP. Could have been a third barracks. That's what it is. It is a third barracks. So this gives you no healing whatsoever. But it does give you a lot of army units sent across the map and hopefully win the game before the Protoss gets comfortable. Max Pax is on those 3 gateways like he usually is. He is building a war prism like he usually is. Clem should have plenty of defenses against this. He's going to have 2 tanks guaranteed, working on his 3rd by the time the Stalkers start to be aggressive. And Max Pax is going to have to be kind of careful about this. He could try and be aggressive. I'm not sure it's going to work. But then actually keeping in mind he might have to be defensive. There might be a swift attack, counter-attack from Clem after the Stalkers are taken care of. Templar Archives is slapped down. Let's take a choice from Max Pax. All in 2 bases, all before that 3rd. Just gonna give him some safety against an SCV pool. I say some, because it kind of depends on how fast it is. Cyclone is going after the Warp Prism. Instead, gets shot down by the Stalkers. Trades out 1 Stalker for 1 Cyclone. I think it's worth it for Max Pax, so he has to worry a little bit less about getting that lock on. Did he get a lot of scouting into the main? He saw three barracks emphasis, then the factory. Now the starport is now on the way. Charge on the way too, alongside Storm. I'm sure ASAP. Got an ASAP. If it is an SCV pool, SCV pools into Storm, it's historically terrible. It can still work out. Maybe the Storms aren't very good. Maybe there just aren't enough other units aside from those Storms to actually kill the very, very weakened Terran. But generally, it's not what you want to do against Storm in an SCV pool. Observer is scanned and killed to get eyes on the current setup, but really getting eyes on the third CC or no is the next important step. And it is going to be a third CC. So Clam, you know, he did not take any damage to the gateway attack. There's not going to happen. Not with the way that he built up. Not particularly quick to the medevacs. No aggression. But he does still have a solid amount of army, really doubling the arms flight currently. But that's not necessarily true. We got to take into account that MaxPax is finishing his gateways, about to be able to warp in half a dozen zealots, and also Storm will cover a lot of that army supply. Clam knows the Warp Prism's still around. He's building a missile turret to help a little bit against it, but that's so much room for the Warp Prism to play around in. Just holding on to some zealots now, waiting for the opportune moment. Here comes the move out. An observer is going to be able to scout that. Yes, only 2 medevacs, but a lot of bio. Some Marines were left back, and they go after the Warp Prism. They barely do not grab it. Quick response, make sure the zealots didn't get us around, and then Clem is still steamrolling ahead on the front lines. MaxPax skedaddling with the stalkers that are trying to really tag this, see where it's coming in. Does lose one of them. Yeah. That's a lot of Storm, though. That is a lot of Storm. Tanks are not sieged up. One of them goes down. Second one was targeted. Medevac pickup's going to save it. But Clem has to run away from this, and this doesn't seem like a very good situation for the Terran, honestly. Not a lot without the Storms, so MaxPax does have to be careful, but you know, the Storms are there. He is down to fight. 4th base on location now. Again, like a fair distance away from your 3rd here in this map. It's a bit awkward in that fashion. I wonder if this will become a more common 4th. It depends on the matchup, depends situation. Regardless, Clem does have a 3rd CC, but it's only just now lifting over. Upgrades, gonna be about even. Yes, Clem has a lead, but it's really not that substantial. Eventually, MaxPax will have the resource to go for double forge. As MaxPax is taking control over this game at this point, Clem is the one that needs to defend. Clem's the one that needs to get to Ghosts and Vikings, because Colossus will inevitably return. He is dealing with the Warp Prism very well. It finally goes down. Can he handle the front line? The last tank still alive on the backside, helping a little bit. High ground, concave. Giving Clem a lot to work with, and MaxPax, well, he moved in. He gave it a go. Didn't actually do all that much damage. Yeah, that was not the push he was hoping for. Obviously, the Warp Prism combination didn't work out. And then the army was already so pre-spread. The Storms weren't very effective, and there just wasn't that much else yet for the Protoss. They have invested quite a bit into the opening. And are still now on 4 bases. They're still actually saturating it and getting all their infrastructure up. I'm sure MaxPax will have the time, though. He already has a Colossus on the way, 2nd Robo. +2 attack. There is a 2nd Forge waiting for the resources for +1 armor. There it is. Right now, it looks like Clem might have a moment, but really it's a moment for him to breathe, relax, defend. Not one for which he can try and be particularly aggressive. So he can get to a pretty perfect Terran army. But MaxPax can also get a pretty perfect Protoss scenario. Warp Prism number 2. Ready to hit that natural, but we got some static defense already being built. Already some available. Interesting that Clem... You know, he did make his missile turrets more in, like, DT than anti-Warp Prism, kind of. They help out with both, because so many times a Protoss player early on will just send the Warp Prism right over the SCVs, so they help with both, but... Anyway, now he's getting the perimeter missile turrets down. That is obviously trying to stop the Warp Prism. Warp Prism was forced back. MaxPax takes the 5th in the middle. There is a Rich Vespian Geyser on this map in these... I don't know. Whatever bases these are. Middle-ish bases. Clem is going into that macro mode. Extra command centers on the way. All the upgrades. Ghost counts up. Viking counts up. He is also going to take this as his 4th. So he will have a pretty direct line to the middle to his opponent's 5th. He wants to attack through there. Really just taking a moment to build everything and anything, aren't they? Well, as this continues on without battles, that scan was almost certainly to say, to figure out, are you adding on plenty gateways or are you adding on a Stargate? The scan happens seconds before MaxPax actually throws it down, which I'm sure Clem would want to know about. But the longer that nothing happens in a TVP, I mean, the more that a Terran is going to figure out, hey, you're probably going into Stargates. Because if nothing is happening, then the Terran is getting to theoretically a better army. Well-upgraded Bio Ghost Viking Liberator is a very scary army. And MaxPax is not trying to just hammer the Terran over and over and over again, making sure they can't get there. He might start now, because it is a maxed out situation. He does have 5 bases of economy. That does give you some assurances as far as to how much you can make a mistake, I guess, and still be okay as the Protoss. But yeah, this is clearly heading into some super late game territory. And if MaxPax isn't going to try and play the runaround game, try and play the Zerg game, then he is going to have to try and play the super late game Protoss game, which is Skytoss. But getting there, it's expensive, it's slow building, it maybe isn't as good as what the Terran can do in a game like this, where things have... There's been nothing that's happened since, minute 5 or 6, right? The Terran is getting to all their bases, well set up with planetaries, missile turrets, sensor towers. They are getting to their infrastructure, 3-star ports, all the upgrades. And the Protoss is going to have to then kind of build into that. Like, the Viking count's already high. So they go into Skytoss, they're kind of already, like, they're building things that the Terran can already, respond to a certain degree. They still need to know that there is Skytoss on the way, of course, but that will eventually be figured out. Clem handling the Warp Prism still fairly nicely. 5 SCVs killed at this point. Not a big deal. Warp Prism in trouble. Not going to be recalled out. Got to be worried about the second attack. Clem is, scans ahead, pulls back an army. He knows there's got to be something else alongside that Warp Prism. And it's not particularly well timed with it, so Clem has had time to respond on both angles. More sensor towers, more planetaries, more upgrades. He's got +1 ship weapon, should be moving on to +2. Here come the Liberators, going to also help him deal with these multi-pronged attacks that MaxPax could be throwing at him. Because if MaxPax, again, was going for that kind of Zergy style of throw the army, replace the army, throw the army, replace the army, try and attack from 4 or 5 different angles, the Terran really struggles to defend against that until Liberators. And then you siege up a couple Liberators around a planetary with a missile turret, and it's very difficult to break. But we didn't have that. We just have this attempt to go into Tempests. But I don't know, man. Clem, he's gotten to where he wants to be. 7 Liberators. Army tracked by the scans, so it's clear this isn't turning into some weird base trade. So kind of slow and steady does the trick. Siege hop the Liberators down the middle road here on this map into, I think, a very successful engagement. I do love the amount of cannons built, although there's one hell of an Artosis pylon. They are going to go down as the rest of the army isn't here to help defend against it. One storm to try and help isn't going to do a whole lot. Same with this storm. It's not doing a ton. It's kind of a warning storm, I suppose. Liberators are going to actually retreat. Warp Prism got into the main base, and Clem did not like the looks of that, although MaxPax was so close to being capped on supply. Only 3 Zealots ended up doing any damage. Clem entirely retreats, though, and that's pretty freaking important. I'm actually kind of surprised he did. Really feel like that was the push. But he retreats. And MaxPax has room to breathe. He's got his Tempest out offensively. He's got positioning. The Liberators aren't drawing a line in the sand anywhere so far. And now they're going to have to constantly reposition and try and track the Protoss army. And Max Packs can do also a better job of kind of like giving away some supply and replacing it perhaps with that Sky Toss than if he was forced into an engagement, you know, one where he was desperately holding on and had to kind of just throw everything and hope that it worked out, that he loses all of his ground army, and you're just not going to replace that army with a Sky Toss very fast. Now it's you know, trickle in. Couple more Tempest, maybe a couple carriers. Suddenly you got mostly a Sky Toss army. And is that a good army? I mean, it's very scary. Most people would agree on that. Do I still think that in the best control in the world, Clem, do I think that the Protoss Sky Toss army is better than whatever Clem can do? Actually, no. I think the Terran army is better. But there's still a lot of variables. Are the Liberators sieged up? Are the EMPs ready? Do they hit before the attack? Or do they hit during the engagement? How much can Max Packs expand and take the map, take the minerals and gas away from Clem? Should we go into an extremely long TVP? I mean, this is actually getting so long and still pretty damn passive that I will bring up the Estrella games of, you know, 6 months ago, which is, you know, he kind of was this weird TVP, feels a little favored, right, towards Protoss, maybe towards like the mid and late game. Then Terran gets Liberators and a good army and 5 bases, and then it's like, okay, Terran's pretty good. And then I think it stays that way even as Sky Toss appears. I think the Terran army is still a little scarier. But then there's this ultra late game, this extremely stupidly long late game that Estrella showed us in PvT, where he was so passive up until like literally minute 50 that really was its own dynamic, and it seemed like it favored the Protoss at that point, but we haven't seen it again since then. We're not going to see it here. We got 2 engagements going on. Clem is going to find a base to the bottom right, but he might lose his base to the top left. Not a lot defending that, but maybe just enough. Infrastructure, Vikings, a couple Liberators, a couple EMPs is looking strong so far. Well, the Storm also looked fairly strong. A lot of Tempests are injured. Clem, he still has an army on the right side. They might try and find more, but maybe he's not going to push his luck. He does pull back, wants to focus entirely on the defense of this planetary, which does not have building armor. Does not have any of its upgrades. We do have Caduceus for the medevacs, which is nice. We got Lib range, we got +2 ship, even an armor for the Vikings, which he will continue investing into. He's going to have 3-2 in the sky. Max Packs will be at 2-1 in the sky, with a shield upgrade at least. Max Packs banking quite a lot, 7,000, 5,000. Does still have a fresh base being built, but depending on how he wants to play this anyway, like it's kind of a question. Like, does he want to continue engaging? Does he want to try and play aggressive with this? Then he's gonna want as much of a bank as possible, you know, being like kind of the Zerg in this position, knowing that you're gonna lose out in some of these trades and needing more resources. Or is he gonna play this super defensive turtley style, like just hover around Clem, build a bunch of static defense? Well, it's not that so far. And he is forced to recall, which goes through at the last second, but yes, the Nexus still does die. Clem may be losing some ghosts for that, but net win for him. Max Packs having repositioned, now needs to do the counter damage too. This is as open as you're going to find a planetary, as the Liberators have to come in from top left. They're going to be too late to save this. Marauder is weak, but somehow surviving through the storm. And that is a dead base, but it's a base for a base, literally a base trade. Clem down 3,000 resources in the trade. He does need a bit more of a bank to feel comfortable as well. Mothership seems to be a goner. No, not quite. Not quite. The fear of storm, time warp. A little too much, but that mothership's a goner anyway. Clem just waits it out, comes back in, and this is a very scary army. Max Packs might just want to let this one go. I don't know. He's puffing up his chest. He's like, I can totally do this. I can totally take this. Where are the Liberators is my question. 5 Liberators not coming along with this makes us less scary. 21 Vikings certainly going to win against the 3 Tempests, but perhaps a little Viking heavy, a little too Viking heavy at this point. Well, the Max Pact is still making Tempests. Just a couple of Liberators. I mean, he's building them now. Nuke was on the way. I think it was killed. We got storms on the backside. Very good storm. Holy shit, that was a great storm. So much damage done. Vikings injured. Medivacs injured. Bio injured. The Vikings do end up surviving, take down the Tempest, and those Liberators that were not siege hopping are a great point of defense to run back to. But my god, that storm behind the army was so good. I didn't even... Yeah, he must have been planning that for a while. Maybe they were set up here the entire time. I didn't notice. That was... I don't know how many units it actually killed, but collectively it did thousands of damage. Jesus. Anyway, Clem does need this base. Although his other bases are not yet mined out, we can see that even this one is starting to mine out. So many mules have been dropped. He does have tons of orbitals. 12 orbitals, in fact. 4 starports as well. Another nuke coming down in the bottom right. Love the nukes. This one is going to hit. This planetary, yeah, too close to the army. Not going to be a good target there for MaxPax currently as he expands to the left side now. We got tectonic destabilizers on the way for the Tempest, because you should get it. Especially if you are going to go into Tempest. And 6 still remain. They're just reinforcing behind the engagement that happened. 6,000 resource trade still. Staying... I mean, I think staying in the like okay realm for both parties actually. MaxPax still has a huge bank. Still has bases to grab. Clem is taking some cost-efficient engagements, but not the most cost-efficient. And he is running out of minerals, so this is still the balance that he has to find. Painstakingly getting one more base while taking efficient engagements. And as he continues to deny bases of MaxPax, MaxPax should start feeling a little bit more worried. I say that when he has 8,000, 5,000 in the bank still. And it's like, how could he possibly be worried? And it's like, well, Protoss armies are expensive. And there is absolutely a world where the Protoss army gets totally shreked. Absolutely 100% dead. And he has to rebuild the entire thing. That is how one side of these engagements can go. It shouldn't go that one-sided, but it can. Please don't nuke your own army, too. That would be very funny. It'd be highlight-worthy, but not fun for Clem. So Vikings now against the 6 Tempest, 16 Liberators. Good God. Yeah, it has to go back into Vikings. 20 worker less for Clem, so we got a typical Terran thing going on. No surprises. Maybe nuke still being attempted. That's exactly what's happening. That one is not going to work out. If you are going to stalemate, if you're going to choose to expand here and the Terran's going to choose to defend here, lots of that defense would be very helpful. Some place to retreat into when the Terran says, I hate you, and runs after you. You go nana-boo-boo and you run behind a bunch of cannons and shield batteries. That's also where the nuke can come in, although I don't think we have... Oh, we have... Oh, well, I actually built multiple Ghost Academies. Hell yeah. But yeah, that's actually... Yeah, the nuke is actually very helpful here. Yes. It will just kill the SAC defense, most likely, but it's getting closer to killing the actual army. But killing the SAC defense is still important. And you can see that MaxPax, he didn't want to lose that. He didn't want the nuke to go off either way, whether it was on the army or on the SAC defense. Wanted to kill the Ghost. He kind of dove for it, and then Clem just slapped him back. MaxPax couldn't make any headway against it, is forced to give up this base. And I fear this will continue to happen the more that he takes direct engagements. MaxPax gonna recall over to the left side with the mothership recall. A little razzle-dazzle. Finding Clem totally out of position. This planetary a goner, although it has already mined out quite a bit. Maybe some orbitals will fall as well, but here comes Clem's army. Will MaxPax stand his ground? Generally advised to not do that. Mobility is absolutely the play. Got this funny situation down here where Clem could mass mule drop and just take the minerals. Clem looking for the engagement. He's got 19 Vikings now, 11 Liberators, 17 Ghosts. Sounds like a perfect army to me. Slow warping. Nah. Also, with stalkers, it wouldn't have survived anyway. Recall force to be used to save this base, and it will take down this rather puny army that was trying to kill the Nexus. But that is now both recalls gone. Clem, he scans. He doesn't see any bases to get with the army in its location. But that also is like, you know, can't kill anything. But that's also a good sign, because Max Packs must be running out of minerals. 7,000 resource difference, so again, staying pretty similar throughout the last 10 minutes. But yeah, Max Packs can't get these bases, just barely mining from the corner, and he's not getting these bases. There is a world where you know, Max Packs runs out of money. We're still almost closing at 10,000 minerals, so it's not right now, but... It's funny how worried I still am when a Protoss has a maxed out army and 10,000 in the bank, and I'm still like, well, I'd be careful if I were you. Mothership recall activated once again. Kills this would-be base. I think an orbital had landed there. And Clem is really eager to kill this army. This time there's no Nexus recall. Mothership is going to go down. Tempest on the run, going to be chased down by the Vikings. Easy peasy. The Stalkers will have to try and help and stop that from happening, but there's nothing stopping it. There's nothing stopping these Vikings. There's far too many of them and no storms to ward them away. One storm maybe in a second, but already all of the Sky Toss being depleted. 2 Tempests barely alive. Hardly count for anything. And Clem is not going to let this one go. There is no repositioning that Max Packs can take now. He's going to follow the army to a base. Get this one. Please, again, do not nuke your own army. I'm scared, guys. I'm really scared. I know Clem is very, very good, and he should never nuke his own army, but how often do you practice this super late game TVP? And I mean, we've seen mistakes made. Clem tries to take this middle base at the same time, but Max Packs, while running away, probably thinking, okay, I need to get something done here. Moves over to the far right. Maybe he was even planning on attacking this base. Found an orbital instead. Now knows the Terran army should be closing in on him, so he wants to make sure he's not just found out completely unaware. Is not going to dive any further for this one. Clem's army has repositioned. Is now ready to start sea chopping down to these bases, while also protecting this one. Max Pack Zealot run-bys on what is now just orbitals. So no defense against those Zealot run-bys. They are going to be quite good, but can Max Packs hold against the main army? 6,000 in the bank, only about 2,000 gas, however, and that's obviously a problem. Everything Max Packs builds is going to have to be gas, although Mass Zealot might not be funnily enough, sometimes Mass Zealot does a trick or two, but I don't think so in this game. Clem is also fairly rich, 5,000, 1,000 in his bank. Although he is losing most of his mining bases, he's killing his opponents, and he's taking efficient engagements. Oh, there it is. There's that huge jump in the resource trade. Once the engagement could really happen, once the Protoss was really stuck somewhere or stuck retreating, not just simply recalling, that's when we doubled up the resource trade. 15,000 now in the hole there for Max Packs as he is put back down to not even one base mining. This is half a base. This is a third of a base mining. He's long-distance mining elsewhere. He can't afford to rebuild Nexus. That is, it's what he's doing. I mean, you could just try and take every base possible and hope that one sticks. But he is in a lot of trouble. Nuke still coming down. A little bit more of a... I call this a distraction nuke, honestly. You know, it goes off, doesn't kill that much, but... maybe it focuses the attention elsewhere. The other nukes have been kind of defensive or offensive, helping break a position, helping keep a position. That's so many missile turrets. That one was just like, oh, well, why not? Missile turrets, funnily enough, I'm not going to say overkill because there are still 6 Tempests and 5 carriers. Max Packs is even still building a carrier with the limited funds that he has. But with how the last engagement looked, it just looks unnecessary, you know? It's like, okay, this is definitely defended. I got it. I got it! You defend this base! God. But yeah, Max Packs' army is not winning against Clem's. It hasn't yet. I don't think it's impossible to win against Clem's, but it kind of requires all the right things to happen. It requires those EMPs to not hit every single storm and take out all the Archons. It requires the Liberators to not be sieged up in the correct, but you know, it's difficult. Both armies difficult to control, just throwing that out there. Terran army, I dare say, is a little more difficult, but it's just a Terran bias throwing shoe. That doesn't really matter, because it's like, this tippity top of a level, it's just Clem is going to control it to the best anyone can, and it is going to look as good as it possibly can, and when it looked as good as it possibly can, it is one of the best armies. His recall into the main from Max Pax is certainly cute. I love the attempt, and he's got a defensive recall to go back home, which I think he will have to use. But if he were to stay and fight, he would definitely die. I'm kind of surprised he's still staying and fighting. He's staying and fighting? He's staying and fighting? Oh my god! Okay, well, that's what happens when you stay and fight. There was a recall? I could have sworn he was just gonna get the heck out of there. Okay, well that's game. No doubt about that. Max Pax does not tap out, but, how much... He might have killed... He lost, like, 100 supply of army. I think he killed, like, 20 or 30 supply of army. Like, that was an insanely bad trade. I thought he actually... made... Well, he definitely had a recall. He did use it at some point. But not for the army that thought he was going to. GG's. Clem will take game 2. And we're gonna head to the final map. Alright. I guess he thought he actually could take that army. Or I mean, don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but that also could have just been like a fuck it, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to win, so let's just do it. Oh, it didn't win, what a surprise. You know, like I feel like that also could have been it. Because I'm not gonna say in any world where, you know, I know more than Max Pax. He has played so much StarCraft 2, and that will include at least some games of late game TVP. He would have known what that was gonna look like. He recalled a single character at the end of the fight. I mean, he did use a recall eventually, but that's totally unimportant. Point is, he had it and then didn't use it for the main army, which was the confusing part. Maybe look decent just not against Clem. I am not quite convinced I would have won that fight if I was in Clem's position, because I'm very bad with late game Terran control. But that was about as easy of an engagement for the Terran as I think any they can find. I don't think that last engagement was Clem's control winning it. His Liberators were already sieged up pretty calmly. His Ghosts were on the front lines. And the Protoss army was going to be super bunched up because it had recalled into a main. I want to give players their due credit for the skill they have, which I feel like I did. Because up until that, Clem was showing, you know, speed and agility and precision. But I feel like that last fight was actually one of the easiest fights ever for him. He didn't really have to work that hard. There's funnily enough, I was watching basketball yesterday, and there was like these really bad lob passes, which is, it was quite funny. It was like, you know, I'm not very good at basketball, but I've watched a decent amount now. But anyway, so that, you know, the guy lobbed it to the guy to go for a big dunk, and it was a complete miss. Like, this is just like the worst pass ever. And both the players were like laughing about it after. Because it was passing like into a defender, basically. It was a terrible pass. Anyway, the announcer, the play-by-play guy, is like, great read from the defender to be there, and he steals the ball, and he goes and he gets the point instead, right? And then there's like a second of silence, and then the color commentator is like, yeah, I just think that was a terrible pass, Bill. And then, you know, everyone kind of laughs. And the guy's like, I choose to be positive, okay? But I feel like that was that last fight where it's like, if you can just be the positive commentator and be like, Clem, what a fight that was. But I feel like I got to be honest and be like, I think Maxpax just took a terrible fight. But I think it was logical in a sense, which is that he was very desperate. He had seen the end coming. He knew he wasn't going to win that fight. It was a whatever, I guess I'll try. Okay, it didn't work. Big surprise. And ultimately, the game was decided actually even before that fight. Maxpax already had felt the noose tightening and already saw the future. And yeah, he just, I'm not sure he really tried his best at that last fight there. But we're in a game 3. Wash it all away. We're on Taito Citadel. In the top left, it's Maxpax. In the bottom right, it is Clem. And yeah, that happens. That does happen. I think we've seen it from every single player. I always say, like, you know, I don't want to say I know exactly what went through their head, but I think we've all been in similar positions where it's just like, yeah, I've been dying, nothing's working, let's just go. Oh, it didn't work, big surprise. And you don't even tap out right then and there, even though, like, you knew it didn't work, you knew it wasn't gonna work. You don't even tap out right then and there. You just kind of like, and we have no idea what Maxpax looks like. We have no idea what his habits are. But I feel like in my brain, I see some Danish prince just kind of being like, yep, okay. And then like doing an extra couple actions and then tapping out. But I don't know if we're going to get another game like that. Certainly if we get to another late game, I think Maxpax will try the alternative Protoss answer, which is to just kind of YOLO more earlier than the last YOLO. Go for more of the mass expand, try and out harass the opponent. Then try and play into the late game. But ideally, it doesn't even get to that point. Maxpax, you know, he didn't get to his usual bully position in TVP, which he can so often find himself in. So often he plays these games and he gets to 4 bases of Protoss up against 3 bases of Terran. And then he sends the 3 Colossus and a bunch of army to go wave their hands in front of the Terran's face. And the Terran freaks out. And then the Terran loses. Like, it's a pretty accurate summary, I feel like, of a lot of Maxpax's TVPs. And that didn't happen last time. He opted for Storm, which I think is fine. Of course, I'm not saying Storm's bad, but I think it was fine. But he also did opt for, like, the Storm before the Nexus. Clem's build, I think, did force a reaction from him. And then Clem didn't actually go super aggressive. You know, he did move out. The Storm stopped him. He said, fair enough. And then he just went totally defensive, paired to Turtle late game. Maxpax didn't get the same ebb and flow that I would say usually benefits him in PvT. Another 2 Adept opener. Into the Blink. This time around, Clem goes for the 1/1/1 after the expand. The Adepts are certainly more annoying this time around. Two ICVs go down. And Maxpax is going into 3 gateways behind it. Oh, 4! He's going on to a classic 4 gate. Does seem like he's bringing it back more often lately. But Clem not going to go for the same opener as last time, almost for sure, and he isn't. There you go. He's not going to have quite the same setup. He's not going to be in a super bad place against 4-gate. But he is not going to have the same amount of bio, the same amount of tanks. as the last game, he's going to have these Banshees, which may be useful. They may be extremely useful, actually, but sometimes they're not. He's certainly not going to have the same amount of bio, and he's going to have to cover a lot of area. I'm looking at this map from the perspective of defending a 4-gate, and I'm seeing some opportunities here. There's not that much space up here on the cliff that you can blink up to, so this is kind of normal for all the maps. This is a decent amount of room for the Warp Prism to try and come in. Still not bad. I think there's other maps in the map pool that's worse. But I'm looking at how far away maybe you have to be to defend your bunker and then go up to defend your main. How the Protoss can do a little 1-2. It looks like Clem, by the way, did scout that it was a still 2-base. So he doesn't know it's a 4-gate exactly, but he sees that it's still 2-base, and he is playing very cautious. He's going for a second bunker that is very good for him. Anyways, and there's tons of room for the Stalkers to micro in the natural. And then, like I'm saying, like a fair distance away from them entering back into the main to help whatever's going on down there. But the Banshees have already appeared on the other side of the map, and they're already doing significant damage. 9 probes have fallen. And Max Pack's already hampered in this 4-gate. Forced to replace the probes instead of putting everything into the Stalkers, which then would eventually either will break the Terran, of course, but then also maybe he starts to put everything into a Nexus as he realizes this isn't going to win the game. Well, now it's delayed. 4 SCVs went down with the first 4-gate attack. But Max Pack's now looking towards that main base. Wants to find more than that. 1 tank really well defended with all the Sim City here. 2nd tank pops out. 3rd tank in that natural. This really seems like a short up defense for the Terran. This 4-gate so far failing. And the Banshee although survived after killing that many probes, so it can come back and help too. Don't think it needs to, but it could. All the Stalkers gonna get what they can, which in this case is just a bunker. That's kind of the... That's the freebie bunker, I suppose. The one that you can give up and still be okay. He might replace it. It's kind of difficult to... Well, no, I think he sees still no 3rd, and that's something he's gonna check, yeah. You know, if there's no 3rd still, I think he does build a 2nd bunker. But the attack's coming in anyway as the 3rd is being built. Tank goes down, bunker then targeted. Mass repair gonna save it for a little while longer. Does finally fall, but that bunker took 4 volleys. Raven is gonna be a target now because Dark Shrine is finishing up. Max Pax loses a lot of Stalkers for that. He killed a tank, he killed a bunker, he killed a Raven. He didn't kill any more SCVs. Was the Raven enough? Now the DTs can do a bunch of damage? I don't know. He doesn't even have DTs on the field. So Scan is being... he's being very careful with the scans by the looks of things. I think the Raven was even already like a... I think you're going to go into a Dark Shrine follow-up. The Nexus is finishing here for Max Pax, but he is not in a good place. 47 probes, 55 SCVs. 3rd CC about halfway done for the Terran. More so, Terran's just going to have a big army soon. Going to medevac, stim, combat shields +1. All the bio that is accumulated here. 1 scan, always available. Missile turret in the natural anyway. Not going to bother rebuilding a Raven. Really doesn't need to. And the Banshees, are they still alive? They are still alive, and they're now buddied up into the natural. Scans ahead, sees, well, the Stalker's already responding, doesn't like that, just goes to the 3rd anyway. There's no observer. So much damage being done by these Banshees. These Banshees are the MVP for sure. They have won this game for Clem. Clem also making sure to defend appropriately to a 4-gate, you know, SimCity. 2 bunkers, but the Banshees, they should get the credit. A scout as well. See that it is going to be an archive build. Storm is not as dependable as Colossus, but it might not be as dependable. It can be a little more volatile. It can bring back games in a way I think Colossus cannot. But whew, even losing more Stalkers. Clem just chasing everything down. Max Pax, you know, he might be buying time for Storm to finish, but he's losing Stalkers. So it's still not a good situation. Almost every single Stalker is going to go down. Good lord. And there's nothing else that's happening. Max Pax does finally get a recall. But man, almost every single Stalker dead. 1 DT was dropped off in the main apparently, and it's just chilling. Max Pax in emergency mode, focusing more on the macro and the micro of the stalkers, what little he could do in that situation, and trying to set up for the inevitable attack. Now finally gets back to harassing with some DTs. Scan on this one. DT in the main, still holding on, I guess, but there's Marines. There's a missile turret. Clem not going to let DTs, first of all, kill a bunch of SCVs. Second of all, distract him. Because I would think that was actually... This is the more painful thing, perhaps, of this harassment, is that if Clem does look away to deal with the Zealots, deal with the DTs, he might get stormed. Tanks, though, if they end up sieging up, and they will siege up right now, are going to really help target fire the High Templar immediately. It is gone. This one also being target fire. Does get the storms down, and they last a decent while, but Clem is able to push through, scans ahead, sees no more storms available, although his army is getting awfully weak. Couple of stims, couple of storms, and they suddenly all one-shot. Maxpack is going to hold for now, but it is just for now. 3-base versus 3-base scenario. Not good for the Protoss. Technology that had saved his life once will not save his life again. Storm bought enough time, sure, but now we're going to have EMPs on the field. Clem already building his 4th base. As Maxpack says as well, not a good sign for Protoss. Clem also has this upgrade lead, which is not going to be matched up from the Protoss for a while yet. +1 only just begun. Extended Thermal Lance not going to be here for the Colossus, so they could be targeted by the Marauders. Just so many things. So many things are bad for Maxpacks, and so many things are good for Clem. As he continues to handle all the run-bys. Got my eyes on the minimap. I see the little blinks. Clem is just handling any run-by, any distraction attempt by Maxpacks perfectly. One last storm will not cut it, and that is it. Clem will 2-1 in advance to the Grand Finals. And we'll see who his potential opponents are. Obviously, Maxpacks falls down, where he will be facing Hero. Hero beat Bjorn after beating Solar, so it is going to be a PvP best of 1 to determine the Grand Finals. Thank you very much for that raid. Bowman Marketing Gaming. Hero versus Maxpack's gonna be in Americas. Whoopsie daisy. Uh-oh. It broke StarCraft. It did not like me changing the graphics. Bring back proxy shield battery void ray rushes. That's a hot take. Hello. I don't think anyone enjoyed that. Well, the Protoss players might have enjoyed it. But maybe not even them. I want it started to appear in PvP. Yeah, no build is truly gone. That's true. Anything is possible if you put your mind to it. Someone clipped Roddy's stream of that fight between Clem and Max Fax, where the one carrier was recalled. He recalled a carrier that had rallied into the planetary in the middle of the map. That's so funny. Have you guys been following the Twitch drama? I know StarCraft 2 and esports in general are kind of not really a part of the overall Twitch sphere. So I'm usually very out of the loop. But I am now in the loop against my will because it keeps appearing on all. So there's this, the newest Twitch drama is that Hassan, a streamer, is an animal abuser. It's basically what it is. You might be like, well, you gotta expand on that, and I will. So a clip showed him reaching over, doing something while his dog was like getting up from behind him, and then his dog kind of yelps. And then the dog like stops moving around and sits back down on this bed that's behind him. It's like always in camera. And people were like, well, wait a minute. Did he just shock his dog? That's messed up. So, of course, people dig into it. And they're like, yep, that's a shock collar. Yep, this actually makes some sense. He's literally shocking his dog to stay in camera frame whenever he streams. The guy tries to defend himself and like shows the collar, but then like people like zoom in and enhance and do things, and he like had taped over the shock collar part, and it was just, it's this whole thing. It keeps like every day there's new evidence. Every day someone, you know, goes back in time and is like, a year ago he did this as well, and he said this and he said this, and it's just all the evidence is pointing to him absolutely abusing the fuck out of his dog, forcing his very large dog to be a prop on his stream. By just training him to never leave. Which is just so fucked up, right? And what's also especially fucked up is this guy has gotten into like plenty of controversies and said some stupid shit and whatever. And he's being taken down because of this. But anyway. The reason I bring this up, to get you guys in the know obviously, but no, is because it's one of those situations that is overall very sad, and obviously we don't like what's happening. Free the pupper and all that. But oh my god, the memes that are coming out of it are everywhere. Including StarCraft Reddit. There was a meme in relation to this on StarCraft Reddit. It's everywhere now. It's like you'll be in like something that's not at all about Twitch or dogs or streamers or anything, and then someone will post like one of the memes from it. And some of these, I get a chuckle out of them, and I'm like, should I admit that? I don't. I'll show you some examples because I don't know why we're waiting so long. By the way, Hero Max Packs, they're in game. They're in StarCraft, but they haven't made a lobby yet. Because they're just like they're posted on everything. That oh my god, live stream fails is just all of it. All of it is this controversy. And sometimes these Reddit threads are just all memes, but I just laugh. I'm trying to find the one that made me chuckle the most. Okay, I guess I'll show you guys this one. They don't have the actual like. Oh, we're getting in the game. Shoot. The one that I laughed at was it was this same like idea. That's what I'm about to show you guys, but it was Thundaga being used from like a Final Fantasy Black Mage. And this is one of those things where it's like, am I a bad person for laughing? No one watched Courage the Cowardly Dog, but I wouldn't get that one. But it's like the same meme pops up everywhere where it's like the dog, it's like a picture of the dog and the dog like breathes and then it's like Thundaga. And I'm like, oh my god, I shouldn't be laughing, fuck off. Anyway. Wait, that's appropriate time buying. We're getting in the game now. Best of one! Throne of the something. Bottom left, it is Max Packs. Top right, it is Hero. Someone did make a Sidestorm variant of that meme. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I won't drag it into this potential YouTube video if this game's any good. I always feel bad coming into the video, talking to Twitch chat and YouTube, so like, what the hell? Anyway, now you guys know more about the general Twitch streaming sphere than you would ever want to know. Alright, so PvP here on a new map. That is actually kind of noteworthy, not because a new map means one race or another can abuse it, because they're both the same race, but more because this matchup does have a lot of proxy potential. And like I was saying earlier in a TVZ, you just don't know where proxies are going to end up. You would know like a proxy Stargate would go here, for instance, if you were proxying Hero to be the most brutal. But there's other things, you know, like you don't know how the probe scout goes. You don't know how the probe, you know, AI, like if you send it down here, will it go this way, will it go that way? Those types of things can matter if you're desperately trying to find the proxy that someone's hidden. And, you know, a lot of the times when it comes to a Max Packs PvP, that is the ultimate question, because so many people cheese Max Packs as Max Packs 1 gate expands. He's been doing that a lot less lately. And now it's a real, like, almost 50-50 if he's going to 2 gate as well, or 1 gate. This time around, he is 1 gating. Hero is 2 gating. Hero does get aggressive against Max Packs quite often. Where other people had given up entirely, Hero still did it. Most people do still try to cheese Max Packs in this scenario, but not always, so we'll see what Hero's decision is. Currently just building a couple of Adepts, and obviously no proxies were put down at all. So Zealot had to be built, because Hero's probe was gonna be a dick. That's such is life, and Max Packs has already built a Stargate, which Hero would know. There's not really many other options beyond the Stargate here. Oh, it doesn't block once more. Finally gets the Nexus. The probe can now skedaddle and live another day. That's 2 more Adepts on the way, but Hero is accumulating the minerals to build a Nexus. So nothing more suspicious. Something like a Robo and the Warp Prism. Maxpax is one adept. We'll barely see the incoming. He's got to just make sure he's got a wall. The Zealot can't do very much. Gonna hide in a corner. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Until there are 4 depths on the front, and then they could actually... Is it 4 depths that can out DPS? Maybe you need more than that, though. I'm actually not sure. I do know if you do end up going 6 adepts, you usually go up to 8, and obviously 8 would do the trick, but this is not that build. There's 2 sentries behind the adepts that will, I guess, just kind of chill somewhere and wait for a more opportune moment. Because they're certainly not getting into the main base right now. Oracle was created, and I saw Phoenix being produced, but I think he changed his mind back to a second Oracle. And the first Oracle is about to arrive. Shield battery plus 2 sentries. Pretty damn good defense. The Adept somehow did get into the main base, of course, but not at a time of which it could couple up with the Oracle. Even had, I'm not sure it's really worth it. Stasis Trap has to be the goal. And we've seen... The last time these two played, Stasis Traps did seem really good against Hero. Hero eventually won that overall series, but yeah, Stasis Traps were a weakness of his. This one's fine. 2 probes locked in, not a big deal. 2 probes killed as well, too. On the side of Maxpax, that is. He still ends up ahead by 2 probes. Blink to blink. Heroes is obviously faster, but actually finding the perfect timing to abuse that can be a bit difficult. Ends up recalling Stalkers that are on the offensive. They weren't going to do very much, and they're better off making sure these Oracles don't find excess damage. Sentries were actually out in a little scouting mission. Already got all those shields taken away, and so the Oracles cannot enter into the natural like they wanted to. Hero is only still on 2 gateways. It looks like he might be getting up to that 3rd. Maxpax adds on his 3rd gateway. He had already had on a 2nd one. Oh, 2 more gateways here for Hero. Is there anything else coming out in the map, like a probe? Not so far. It looks like Hero Stalker is actually checking for kind of the same thing. Any probe hiding a proxy gateway. Maybe even an Oracle flying by, which it almost did. Not caught, though. I mean, now I'm going to check on a 3rd, but the 3rd is coming down in the triangle position. Hero's own 3rd should be coming down unless the... Well, yeah. He's on 4 gateways. Just had to pull his probes away from the Oracle, which barely lives. And somehow is not in reach of the Stalkers, so that's a pretty good stasis trap. And another maybe a little damage done in the natural before the Oracle had to skedaddle. Nexus does finally come down for Hero, but it's pretty heavily delayed in comparison to Maxpax's. First, he built the extra gateways. Then he had the probe problem. Then he built the Nexus. So Maxpax is going to finish up soon, and Hero is going to be very far behind. Hero has 4 gateways, higher than 3 numbers, but he has no real pressure to apply to his opponent. Blink is now done for both parties. And while there may be a slight army advantage for Hero if he had invested totally into the 4 gateway production, it's really not enough to overcome defender's advantage. It certainly is enough to defend Maxpax's attack. Maxpax, seeing what he can get from this, wants to drag this army into the stasis trap, and this is where Hero did start to falter. Oh my god, he's gonna do it again! Another good stasis trap. 5 Stalkers out of the equation, which actually would even up the Stalker count, but Maxpax, of course, is reinforcing from all the way back home. He is going to blink aggressively onto his opponent. Whoa, that is a decision. Guardian Shield helpful. So, yep, that is going to be enough to defend. I mean, if Maxpax had a Warp Prism or a Proxy Gateway, I would have been scared for Hero right there. But without it, yeah, there's just a little bit too much left over. And now the Stalkers unlocked from the Stasis Trap can contribute 16 Stalkers for Hero, now against 9 of Maxpax. Maxpax, I think he just made a game-ending mistake. Being as aggressive as you'd expect from Hero, in fact, might have just cost him this game. Stasis Trap going to try and come in Probes have been pulled already to try and help out, and they are pretty effective in these low stalker scenarios. 5, 6 of them do go down. Oracle tries to get some return damage, not going to be able to find it. Max Packs did have 9 probes to give before things got even. So even though he pulled probes right there and it looked very dangerous, he actually still ends up ahead. Ahead in the economy, ahead in the +1. Not ahead in the army, but, you know, this is close enough in the numbers where it's probably going to stabilize. So I was a lot more worried than I had to be, and I guess the same thing happened on the flip side, which, you know, if Max Packs had a proxy, things could have gone worse for Hero. If Hero had a proxy or a Warp Prism, maybe that was the killing blow. There was a significant stalker advantage, but not all of them were on the front line. Thank God for Defender's advantage. The game will go on. Hero grabs a slightly faster 4th. Not really. Nope. Even on the 4th base. Max Packs just better at producing probes. Was ahead by 5 again. Faster, much faster on the upgrade. Still staying with it. +2 starts up immediately. Charge is going to be done in about 30 seconds. And Max Packs, I think, is well set up to defend against this. Hero is just sharking around, I think, not really looking to super engage. Adept's going for a couple of probe kills. Why not? Oracle sees no opportunity. Make a stasis trap on the outer edges, but a couple of cannons now being made from Hero means that the Oracle finds less damage, and of course, if there were DTs on the field, they wouldn't find a lot of success. But that is also some, you know, static defense built in exchange for Army, of which Hero is already behind in the economy. Currently, the Army is rather even, but Max Pack sees the opportunity to chase. He's absolutely right about that. He then grabs an Observer, which had been on the front line. Hero still has one, but this seems to be Max Pack's realizing the correct opportunity. He loses 10 probes, but he gains in the stock count. Yep, was ahead by 2 before maybe Hero warps in. He's got an Immortal on the way. Second Immortal on the way. Immortal's pretty good when you're talking about Stalker versus Stalker, but not out yet. Yeah, stasis trap. Looks like Hero's very aware. There's the Observer. One did survive. I think he's F2ing a lot. I mean, one of the first pros probably thought of when people... Oh my god, the stasis trap. Oh my god, it's so good. He's so... This is... Last week was the same thing. Last week, Hero walked into so many stasis traps. And although he won the overall series, it was still a problem that apparently persists. It's a much bigger problem in this best of 1. 2 Immortals are out. 3 Immortals, actually. This is the 4th one on the way, but the Robo is being targeted. Can it actually go down? Don't think that's going to be worth it. Max Packs isn't that far ahead in the supply. In fact, he's not ahead in the supply at all. He's now behind, but he does have that +2, and he wants to use it. The Zealots are already gone, however, and the Stalkers remaining do not want to combat 3 Immortals, soon to be 4, and they are going to be forced to flee, despite the stasis trap. I mean, that stasis trap took out so many Stalkers. Oh, I was talking about the F2. What was I talking about? I think the first thing, and a lot of people thought of, was that Hero was going to have some problems with the Observers. Hero is a notorious F2er. Some people get weirdly defensive about it. I mean, you could just say it as a fact. Is it a weakness? Yeah, it is. F2 is a perfectly fine thing to use, but, like, abusing F2, just spamming it all the time, should be somewhat of a weakness. And while it's not caused big problems in this game, it might have caused some problems. There's a chance that if all the Observers were not constantly F2 to the front, one would have been there for the stasis trap. But aside from that, this engagement doesn't look to be going as well as Max Packs was hoping. The Zealots once again cleared out, leaving nothing but Stalkers for Max Packs against someone who now has 5 Immortals. And that is the real, there's a real trick to this. Max Packs, you know, he's building up this very solid Zealot count. And the Zealots are supposed to be a problem, but, you know, they keep on running forward into this good concave of an extreme number of units from Hero. And they're not really getting the best possible engagement. They are dying before they're really getting, you know, any type of surround or really interfering with the army movement. As the numbers continue to grow, that becomes less and less of a problem. You know, if there's just 30 zealots potentially, like, they will get connections. They will make these immortals shoot inefficiently, but every time the zealots run forward, Hero runs back, tries to clear them out before anything else, but once he blinks back, the immortals are a little bit weaker. This time the zealots actually getting on top of them. Archon's getting on top of them as well. The immortals are shift-clicked on the stalkers, but Hero might still have some trouble up against the reinforcing zealots, up against the very good Archons. They have tanked so much damage. Now they're finally falling. MaxPax is not going to be able to win this fight. Maybe overly aggressive, thinking he was winning it. Forced to warp in stalkers. Pull back to the defensive shield battery. Help out with the cannon. He is also losing probes on the 5th base. And Hero might have just made all the right moves. He's got 2-1 finished up as MaxPax's +3 did. But MaxPax seems to have lost too much to recover. Hero with the relentless aggression did not let MaxPax get to a critical mass of units, and he will be advancing to face Clem in the finals of this Open Cup. Seems earlier today, Hero and Clem faced off, and it was Clem 2-1. But last week, Hero won against Clem. The week before that, Hero won against Clem. Should be a close series. Interesting. Super interesting. Is it? We're all waiting. Apprehensively. Since we're in a lull, I'll talk a little bit more about the Twitch drama, because the memes they're funny. But you know, I was thinking, you know, there's been like a couple more people, literally just like 2 or 3 people, right? So this is not a real trend. But I feel like there are years that go by without anyone asking or demanding for my cat Cam to have a cat. Sometimes they ask, like, where's the cat? Sometimes they demand the cat. And I feel like the demanding has happened a little more in the last, like, year. And a part of me wonders, are there some people on the internet who expect the animal to always be on demand? And if there are, did someone set that standard? Do they watch a certain streamer whose animal never leaves the frame and think, oh, well, then the animal must always be available? Thing is, there's almost always a cat around me, to be fair, somewhere. It's just there's not a cat cam that always has the right angle. Like Ziggy is watching me from the top of my bookcase in front of me right now, like a weirdo. I'll be like in the living room on the couch, just minding my own business, and I look out, and then like over in the dining room, there's this like black cat, and it's just like staring at me. What the fuck are you doing? It's because he loves me, but it can be kind of creepy. My poor laptop is already at its max capacity as far as the amount of USB that's been plugged into it, man. This thing is working overtime. So I was not able to also plug in my my usual mobile cat cam. That would have just killed it. It's a Wi-Fi GoPro camera. I mean, honestly, there are solutions to, like, I could put like a camera in the corner of the room, right? And I could get to it like there's NDI, you know, for like a truly mobile camera. You know, I could try and get every cat angle, but I ain't that try hard. Ride the cat bus. Speaking of cats, thank you very much for that Prime sub. I also wasn't able to hook up my my small stream deck, so missing that too. I don't understand people who watch streams have obsession with having a pet cam. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it can get kind of annoying, you know? Like, someone comes in and they're like, where's the cat? Like, you know, fair enough. I think it's kind of a silly question because it's, you know, the answer is wherever the hell they want to be. But, you know, that's not a bad question. People come in and they're like, get the cat. Well, then I'm a little more annoyed. And then there's people who, you know, will actually tell the streamer, oh, the cat's not here? Okay, bye. And that, you know, sometimes it's probably a joke, I suppose. But then sometimes I think they're actually serious. And it's like, you know, there are a lot of streams on Twitch or just live streams in general that are just like cat cams. So there's like shelters and volunteer organizations. So they just put up one. You could actually go find cats to watch. You don't have to depend on a streamer having a pet cam. I don't know if they know this. Although my cats are the cutest out of all the cats in the whole wide world. All right, we're finally into the grand finals here. In the top right, we do have Team Liquid's Clem. And in the bottom left of Andromeda, we have Team T1's Hero, which is pretty freaking cool. He should be red. Hero should be red. Clem should be blue. They have utterly failed. Restart the damn game. No, I'll live. I'll be fine. Andromeda, we did not get to see a lot of it when we had it in Max Packs versus Clem, because Clem Max Paxed and won within 4 minutes. Not happening here, so let's take a look at it. Let's take a gander. The natural into the third. Okay, and the natural not that big. Okay, all right. Feels like some big mains and naturals in this map pool. But moving on. Destructible rocks. Okay. Rich Vespian Geyser. This looks like you know, you take a picture of this And this actually kind of looks like some type of Brood War map. Where you're just like, ah, Blizzard, what are you doing? Why are the minerals here? Why is the gas there? This doesn't make any sense. But no, this is a modern StarCraft 2 map. Because that must be super awkward. I mean, it's half base, but you put your base there. The geyser's off. You know, like this is what I'm looking at. The geyser's off. Anyways, Rich Vespian geyser, cool. Probe is blocking out a 1-Rax expand currently, so nicely done, Probe. And then what other features does this map have? You expand to the third, you walk your way through the middle, through brush, through more destructible rocks. More destructible rocks maybe down here, actually, up into there, and that's how you get to your opponent's side of the map. Okay. Okay. Regular base, regular base, regular base. So yeah, I mean, and there are no doodads. There's not a lot of doodads in the map pool so far. We haven't seen all the maps, but other maps we have seen, there's been no healing shrines, right? No healing shrines, no speed zones, no slow zones. This map needs more cats. It's true. So what's going to be interesting about this map is certainly more of the terrain and the movement of the units. Give me a little bit of a Daybreak feel. Anyone else getting that? You know, we're out in outer space, but then also, ooh, good block on the probe. You know, this kind of shorter map, more horizontal than vertical. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You see what I'm seeing? It's definitely not like Daybreak, but just as far as the overall layout. Anyway, Probe did die. Probe did die. Daybreak, it was like main here, natural, and then there was this gigantic wall in the third up there, so definitely not like it in the layout that way, but just more as the silhouette. It's kind of like a silhouette of Daybreak. 1-1-1 here from Clem. Bunker up. Nice and safe. Not much has gone down. Reaper Hellion. Not going to find any damage. In fact, he's going to have to run away. Wait, what did I click on? Oh, I clicked on the rocks, too. He's going to have to run away from the double Adept opener that Hero's doing. Into double Stalker. He's got one gateway. He's building a second, and that does seem to be it. So, planning on a third Nexus. Nope, third gateway. Then Nexus. He sends his probe on over. Reaper Hellion is really trying to get past all these units, by the way, and so far unsuccessful. Has not been able to get another scout in. Did not see the Twilight Council, has assumed at this point probably Twilight Council, but would like to get in someplace to see either, well, of course, the third, or maybe do a little harassment, or even a little distraction. And pushed away at every turn. Here comes the medevac drop, full of 2 Widow Mines. This army does finally get a position to see that it is in fact a third Nexus. Do not fear the 4-gate. Could be a Warp Prism. If this was Max Packs, it'd almost guaranteed be a Warp Prism heading across the map. But it's not. It's Hero. And Hero decides not to add that on. Just got 3 gateway for the potential Warp-ins. If he needs them. Hero's got nothing defending his main currently. Trying to spread out his Adepts. Might be hoping to catch something flying across. It's not the direction it went, though. Like Clem's just waiting. Behind this Clem, kind of noteworthy, he gets a Raven. That's the only thing. One tank is going to build a second one. Hellion finally died alongside the Reaper. Medevac is going to go into the main now. There's still nothing here to defend. Is Hero paying attention? Yes, he is. What am I? Ho 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 ho. Almost caught the conga line of probes. Almost. Clem loses the Widow Mines, loses the medevac, and only kill 2 probes. It does suck to lose the medevac, because this is actually a map where that medevac should be able to get away. There are other maps where the natural is also up against the edge of the map, and so you can't escape that direction. This has escapes both directions, so that sucks. 3 shield batteries. Wow, 1 shield battery in every base coming down already. Okay. Okay. All right. He does not know if it is Banshees or not. The observer did not go across the map. It popped and then went to the main. Oh, that's the second observer that did that. Okay, so yeah, this one was heading its way on over. I am going to say it. I do wonder if Hero F2'd at some point to not already have a scout in the main base of his opponent. Wow. Raven is going to fall. And Clem is not getting his usual unit retention TVP. Surveillance mode observer should see that he's about to die and run away, but now he's been revealed in general. And that did not... That was not worth it. That was not worth the surveillance mode. It's not like the surveillance mode even saw what actually was building here. And while Clem is unlikely to do a 2-base all-in, it's not impossible for him to do so I feel like he really would want to see if it's 3rd CC or not. Hero's blind without the Stalker aggression, which is more than just Stalkers. The sentries have come along with him. Interesting. I don't think there was any time for the sentries to be scared, but maybe he was thinking just could, like, peel off a tank or a marauder or two. I suppose that is possible. But Stim, combat shields +1 is already done, and Clem is actually almost ready to move out, so Hero needs to be really careful not to let non-mobile units like the sentry be caught off. Robo Bay is done. Colossus will start to be built. Clem seems awfully comfortable. He's not moving out, though. He's going to wait till he has his Vikings, and I guess wait in general. Maybe he's going to play that late game like he did versus Max Packs. This game feels like an opportunity for him, though, to be aggressive. It's so hard to say. A lot of TVP and the way that's worked out in the last year has been Terrans thinking that they can do kind of the mid-game aggression and then getting no wins with it. And in fact, getting a lot of losses because they try to be aggressive, they lose the Medivacs, they lose the Bio, then they get countered by the Colossus and they don't have enough to defend. So I think there's some hesitation there, but... Oh no! Why? Poor Yeti. I know there's a reason to kill the critters, but I always don't like it. Okay. Right, the game versus Max Packs, you know, there was Storm out. There was like an aggressive maneuvering army with Storm before EMPs, and there was a lot of reasons not to continue being aggressive against him. In this case, I feel like Clem could have, you know, before the Colossus showed up. But, yeah, no, didn't go for it. 4th CC, Ghost Academy on the way. As I was saying, Vikings already being produced. With this game plan, though, there is no way that he is found out under-defended against the Colossus, or even really, like, a Templar attack, if that's what Hero was doing, because the tanks would help cover that. The Bio-Concave on the high ground set up defensively would help that. Whereas, again, if you try maybe to be a little overly aggressive, you try and go for the drops and the pushes and the bio trades, you know, you're so busy trying to replenish that, you don't really get to the appropriate Viking count, or you lose a Medivac, so you might have gun Vikings, but you don't have enough Medivacs. I mean, this way, Clem knows that he has the army he has with his macro, which is quite good. There's been no trades. There's been no interruption. He's got his army. He's got 4 Medivacs, the key number for now, into a good number of Vikings before Hero is ready to bully him with 3 Colossus. He gets the perfect Terran army. And, yeah, Hero also gets some time to get 5 bases going on to 5 bases now. Maybe even on to 6. But the army is not in question. Like, Clem's army is good right now. Equal upgrades, by the way. Clem is out of position to start the battle. Force Field's trying to abuse the choke as well here, but I think it is wise of Hero to pull back. Another stim is used there, but the Medivacs have plenty of energy. Zealots coming on the top side immediately evaporate. Plenty of Marauders left over. 2 Colossus going to fall, at least almost certainly the second one will. One more shot will cut it. Clem being careful. He knows the consequences of being too confident against the Protoss army. You think you've got your Concave, you think you've got a good number of Marauders, you think the Colossus are going to fall, you run into them, and Hero just killed that 1 weak Colossus. So I was right. That Colossus was inevitably going to die. Probably shouldn't have killed it, though. And now he's taking a really bad engagement. EMPs on top of the army. The 1 Colossus is going to be super distracted. My computer struggling a little bit by the looks of things. But anyway, yeah, that wasn't the fight for Hero. Manga Man, thank you for that 7-month resub. Anyway, yeah, you don't want to be chasing into the Protoss army because, at that time, he would have had force fields. There could be more reinforcing Colossus. It could be reinforcing Zealots in the number of, 10, 20 or something, and you just got to be really careful. And it really seems like Clem is adhering to that principle of defensive Terran versus Protoss. He's not really bothering to try and find these avenues that you usually would, a year or 2 years ago in TVP. Fourth base of the planetary is going to help out. This is only half of Clem's army. The rest of it can come in on the top side for a fantastic concave. Hero is on the run. Colossus, the last one going to fall. Immortals have been replacing them, which can sometimes be very good, but I don't think they're going to be very good here. Marines on the front lines taking that damage currently. EMPs taking them out. Vikings could have landed if they wanted to. Hero actually took this base instead of this one? What? Okay, I don't know why that happened. It's a reinforcement base? It's a proxy? Okay. I guess. This is one too poor of a battle, too many. These have been some really bad battles from Hero. None of it really making a lot of, I don't want to say sense. It's not like he's completely lost in this matchup, of course, but none of these battles went according to plan in any way, shape, or form. There are... The Colossus were under fire before they did any damage. The Zealots weren't reinforcing fast enough. The Viking count was never in question. Always there to take on the Colossus fairly quickly. Clem never got overconfident. Even this here, he's going to win. The supplies are just simply too different. And yeah, this is going to be game in favor of Clem. Hero just doesn't want to admit it. It split away from the Disruptors, which would start to one-shot the Marauders too. They've been stimmed so much. More medevacs were produced, but even with that, many of them still running low. This would be important stuff if Hero had an army to fight with. He doesn't. He's at a third of the army supply of Clem, and Clem has nothing to worry about back at home, so just stim to win. GG's. And the style seems to be working for Clem. All right. He's now taking out Max Packs. He takes game 1 in very convincing fashion versus Hero. I don't want to say that he's figured out the secret or that this is a result of the patch either. I think Hero played that rather awkwardly, to be honest. I feel like awkward is a really good word for it. Like, we know Hero's TVP can be amazing and ruthless and sharp. So sharp. But that wasn't it. That was a bit clumsy. All the attacks, off beats, missing units, missing key ingredients, missing micro. It's all a bit odd. And perhaps the map threw him off. Perhaps the fact that Clem was at no point ever aggressive threw him off. There's usually a little more of the back and forth that the Protoss can go, aha, now it's my turn. And Clem didn't even bother. Clem took no turn. Clem just waited. Had the meat but no seasoning, yeah. And, yeah, then that looks really easy, Like, the army of the Protoss is, in a very big way, fragile, And so usually what you see is a lot of cleverness involved. The pullbacks, the choosing the right angles, the choosing the right engagement and choosing the right time, because you also have like a Zealot run by or a Warp Prism going in. Making sure there's always something else going on. There's always a way for you to retreat successfully. And that just did not happen. So when Clem was able to take engagements, nice concave, Vikings evolve, so on and so forth, they were very convincing. Bottom left now of Old Republic is Clem. Top right is Hero. Hero likes this very fast probe just to be mean. Shake that one off. There's one thing Hero can do is look completely different between games. So while that last game doesn't inspire a lot of hope for his PVT, if you know Hero, you know that doesn't even matter. He could be 3-0 today. He could look bad versus Clem today. It happens. The vice versa also happens. The opposite, where Clem looks bad versus Protoss. But It's also equally likely that Hero has one weird-looking game where we're just gonna be like, oh, okay, and then he wins the series. That is Hero, and that's why he's so fun to watch. And I'm really hoping that the T1 pickup is rewarding for him. Another One Racks expand from Clem 2. You know, it's interesting. It did feel like the factory expand was getting more popular. Like 70-30 factory expand to One Racks expand. And the 3 Reaper 2 Helene was getting quite popular. And then it, I guess, Protoss around the world, NA, Europe, Korea, all started to, you know, once they scouted it, to just go ahead and default double shield battery, which didn't seem to hurt them as much as it absolutely hurt the factory expand push. And anyway, it just seems now, because we saw this actually in NA, on the Safe House qualifier, funnily enough. We just saw the Terran Foxer, but still. The Terran have a lot more success One Racks expanding, macroing as calmly as possible, and then engaging. The Widowmine drop still happens. The Reaper still, you know, gets made. It can do something or another. But it's not really about that. It's about a clean game and a clean defensive game. And forcing the Protoss, I guess, to do something against you. But I'm not sure, like, I feel like we're just in the midst of the kind of revolving door of the meta, you know? Where then the Terrans always One Racks expand and always play passive and defensive. So then the Protoss start to do things that really take advantage of that, such as being greedier on their end. You know, always 2-gate expanding, for instance, 2-gate through race. Always, you know, almost double expanding, 4th and 5th coming down almost simultaneously. Yeah, I mean, I think they could do that, and then suddenly you got the Terrans being like, okay, I guess we do need to do something against the Protoss. But right now, this play seems to be working out fine. Hero is not going for a Twilight Council. This is something Clem, did he get his eyes on that? I think he did. He did indeed. The Stargate was seen. The Phoenix. I don't know, actually. I think it's kind of hard to tell. I think you can tell it's a Phoenix. I feel like you gotta really. And you know, Clem's not gonna have time to just sit there and look at that all day. Oh, well, the Oracle is here, so hello. Oracle shows up. The important thing is that he saw the Stargate in time to get his Marines in place and a Cyclone in the main, and he only took 2 SCVs of damage. Still, I mean, this was going to be an actual Phoenix if he could tell that, which was canceled, by the way, anyway. But if he could, then maybe that would throw some doubt into his mind if it's going to be a Phoenix build. But with an Oracle, I think it very rarely goes into a Phoenix build. Phoenix builds in general are quite rare. But if they do happen, it's usually just right in a Phoenix. Yeah, I don't think Clem's tossing and turning at night over this potential. More likely, going into the Twilight Council, going into Blink, going into Colossus. So far, that is what Hero's doing. Although, hold off on the Colossus. He might go Templar Archives. Clem's not going to go for a Widowmine drop. Got 2 Cyclones, so he would have been very well defended against multiple air units. Now 2 Cyclones might look a little unnecessary. Depends on how they lock on in the future. Then goes into a Liberator. And this Liberator, you know, if it was afraid of Phoenix, I mean, I don't think it would have been built. So it's going to get into the natural, see what's shaking. Maybe see if it's Templar Archives or Robo, which still is yet to be decided. Hero opts for the Forge first. He's getting his gateways, trying to chrono out those probes. Stalker's on the front line with the Oracle to get some vision. There's the Robo. So he's going to be Colossus. And he doesn't know about the Liberator, but there's a good chance that the Terran has a starport and that they have built something out of that starport. Whether it's a Widowmine drop or the Liberators. The Liberator does siege up. It will get 3 probes. Clem did make sure to shift click on them, which isn't terrible. And maybe a couple of stalkers alongside it. 2 stalkers have gone down. These Cyclones not going to be a target. Maybe they can get 1 stalker while they're at it. The back and forth micro between these 2. Medivacs are out. The push is already halfway across the map. Is Clem going to continue pushing? Usually I would say yes, right? But because of the way he's been playing, and because of the way I think Terrans are now kind of anticipating how strong a Protoss is, even when he seems to get an advantage, there might not actually be a push. He's kind of hovering around right now, maybe hoping that Hero moves into him. And then he can either take the fight if it goes well, or skedaddle if it doesn't. Clem is continuing to move units out into the open. 3rd TC is done, lifting on over now as he adds on also 4th and 5th barracks. Hero moves his army to the right. He does not know about the army still over on the left. So he assumes that if it hadn't appeared, it left, but I think he just saw it. Certainly he's going to see it with the warp prism and the stasis trap. And now things are going to be a little weird. It's going to get very weird. Robotics Bay is done, but there's still no Colossus. This is all gateway units right now, and Clem simply lifts the 3rd CC again and leaves, goes for the pylon, depowers the armor. He's now going to go after the units, save that medevac on the backside. Hero scrambling to return home as there wasn't a recall. And even if there was, recalling into the army is never ideal. Probes are now in trouble. Hero is in trouble. Hero, again, going up against this army with pure gateway. And now he's going into his own chokes. And that is not going to be good enough for Clem. Not good enough to stick around, try and take the fight. He's going to lift. But this is certainly a good decision from him to just go for the attack. 11 probes are dead. Infrastructure delayed at the very least. Drops out on the other side and is caught a little bit. Clem was going to try and reinforce quickly, but now Hero gets something going for him. That is good, but is it good enough? Still a 20 supply deficit thereabouts. Only 5 of it in army, however. Most of this is the economy issue, which I would say is a big issue. Wouldn't mind pop off, taking on a lot of the zealots. Clem has now fully reinforced on the front so that he is winning. Whereas Hero does not have his reinforcements on the front as of yet. This Colossus does not want to reinforce. He wants to get the heck out of there. Otherwise, he is a goner. Some adepts are pulled into this, but desperately trying to get every unit on the front. Clem now at a 40 supply lead. Hero's army needs to be in a better situation here. It's not near a critical mass of gateway units to actually be scary. 1 Colossus honestly isn't that scary. No run-bys, by the way. This is all just down to this engagement, which Clem should be feeling very confident about. Although his army is weakened from the repeated stims, medevacs are here. They will heal up. He's got an upgrade advantage, and he is looking at a single Colossus between him and victory currently. Wouldn't mind. Are going to pop off. That one does pretty damn good damage. Second Colossus is now here, and this is getting a little scarier to engage into because, again, the bio is weak. Medevacs have not had time to heal, something that Hero is trying to take advantage of, even going after one of those medevacs. And Clem is going to entirely disengage. He is starting to build up Vikings. This is a different way of playing, right? He has been engaging. He's been trying to win out in this the pseudo base trade that they had. He's been building non-stop medevacs, so the Vikings are coming in later, and this is a familiar dilemma that Clem avoided last game, but now is finding himself in, which is the Colossus dilemma. There's only 2 of them, and they do not have extended thermal lance. But typically, this is where they find some power in being the bigger bullies. Concave is here for Clem. He's going to pull the SCVs as well. Guardian Shield, very effective, and now less of a concave as Clem decides he can go after those Colossus. Both of them are killed. Everything on the front lines is killed, and those Stalkers will fall immediately after. Hero thought he could stick around a little bit there, and he was not correct. Clem's army too powerful. Jesus Christ, that was a good disruptor shot. Oh my god, that just saved Hero's life. Oh, the carnage, the blood, the guts. Ow. Disruptor's still useful, guys. Proof right there. But yeah, the army was very chonky. There's a lot of Marauders. There's less now. And it's still not at full health. Vikings no longer necessary. Are going to have to land, which they're still good. Hero isn't going to let up on this aggression. That one disruptor shot is the reason he's even allowed to do this, man. And even as he gets this panic from Clem here, pulling the SCVs once again. I still don't know if it is actually the correct decision. Another disruptor shot going to try and kill something. No longer kills the ghost. Patch. And this is going to be Clem once again pushing Hero back. Hero, you know, he is oftentimes going to be aggressive whenever the Protoss folds. And sometimes that pans out well for him. And it looks like it's so close to working in this game too, but I just don't think it's quite enough. Zealots are warped in and they are chasing down, again, weakened bio. But the bio stutter step is going to be good. More reinforcements. Defender's advantage going to kick in. This planetary going to kick in. The SCVs could be pulled once again if necessary. Last second split against the disruptor. Just such a small scale battle, but one in which Clem's army is quite good at. You know, you got individual healers. You got the splitting from the godlike Clem. You've got the option to pull back into a planetary now. There's no way that Hero's winning this tug of war anymore, though he did get awfully close. When he was moving in after the first disruptor shot, if those zealots had gotten any more of us around. But the time is gone. The timing in which Hero could win the game is gone. And I think that was literally the only time in which he could win the game. Because he is still not on 4 bases while his Terran opponent is. Fully saturated, 75 SCVs. 2-2, halfway done. His Hero is still only on 1 forge. Hero is still building disruptors, by the way, so he has chosen his AoE. I don't think we're going to get such a great disruptor shot again, though. And the disruptors don't get shots. They're pretty useless. They're not that dependable. They do get more shots. They get shots more often with the patch. There is that. Snipes a sentry, gets the hell out of there. A little harassment. Just a single Marine, actually, just a little scout. Clem, dodging and weaving. Dodge and weave. And now the disruptors are like, shit. We forgot. Micro is good. A couple reinforcing disruptors, still not going to be enough. Oh my god, Clem's just going to gun them all down. This is it. Hero's so dead. Hero was trying to set up some run-bys for some distractions. They're coming in too late. They're being F2'd back at this point, maybe intentionally, because Hero is on the ropes. But there's nothing going well for Hero. Clem takes a 2-0 lead.
Engine spinning up.
Thank you, Scout Sea Justice, the huge tier 3. 46 months in a row, 6 months in advance. Much appreciated. The reasoning for the health increase? Pretty sure it's because they were changed to light. So they get a nerf? And then they're like, okay, maybe that's too much of a nerf. So then they're like, well, at least you guys won't be one-shot by disruptors. You'll survive another bailing hit. I don't know the dynamic on that one, but... I think it's totally fine, personally. But obviously I'm biased. But yeah, I do think it's fine. Because I think the light attribute is a nerf. And I think them not being one-shot by disruptors after disruptors all got to buff themselves, like, and you know the matchup is still the most questionable as far as it's to its balance. We could be on our last game here. What are you doing, SCV? In the bottom left, it is Clem. Top right, it is Hero. Thrown to the something, I'll never know. I'll never know. I'll never be paying attention to the lobby to know what it is. Clem is sending out a proxy SCV. He's going to try and get this done early. Get it done. Get it done. Stupid Protoss keeps trying to win. Just kill him. He's got 2 racks. Second SCV is on the way. Classic. So, as I've been saying for the entirety of today's cast, it'd be a little cruel to go for proxies and the like on new maps. It's just not the same amount of knowledge on new maps when it comes to, A, where the proxies are most likely to be. Again, some are fairly obvious, like a Reaper would be close to a Reaper hop-up spot. A Stargate would be close to the entry into the main, you know. But some are not, like where would a 2-Rax most likely go? And then also, where does my scout go? How does the AI maneuver around this map? I think it's going to go directly this way. For some reason, the probe goes that way. Like, these can be reasons why proxies or cheeses in general, I should say, are a little better on new maps. And they're going to be rampant on ladder, just a fair warning when we do get the ladder map change. Just because people, A, it's usually a new season, so people want to try and get, like, the highest rank possible before everything settles. And B, it's because, yeah, people are going to be sitting there in their, you know, Diamond League game being like, oh no, where do I expand? Okay, how do I wall off as a Protoss? Oh, Lings are here. Cool, very cool. Very cool. Okay, I guess I'm dead. And there's going to be a similar reaction from Hero, by the way. Hero has no scout. The one game where he does not scout at all is the game that Clem Marauder proxies. And he's going to be looking at this map like, you know, I think I'm going to do a little blink here, and then maybe blink abuse there, and then that'll be great. And then maybe I'll attack his third with this little choke there. Oh my god, there's Marauders in my main. Fuck off. That's going to be his exact reaction. But in Korean, obviously. No, seriously, this is the worst case scenario for Hero. I mean, actually, the worst case scenario is no shield battery. He is building a shield battery, but it's still pretty bad. Not having any scouts on this. And Clem knows he's not scouted as well, so Clem isn't pulling the trigger particularly quickly. He's waiting till he has Marauder slow done. You know, like if he was scouted, he kind of has to, you know, time out, like, do I start getting the damage done? Do I stop the shield battery from forming? Now he waits, and now it's, oh my god, I can't believe I didn't scout. The shield battery is only going to do so much, by the way. He will need more, but then if the Marauders don't get killed, they'll start one-shotting the Stalkers, so the shield battery will literally be useless. Probes are very good right now, so there's the good news. One Marauder does get killed, but then so does one Stalker. Second Marauder very close to death. Second Stalker very close to death, barely saved. As more probes are pulled from the main base, this is what you gotta do as Hero. For Clem, he needs to keep that Stalker count down. That's why he target fires them, then goes back to the probes. Already so many probes have fallen, but Hero, if he survives, it's worth it. But is he going to survive? Second shield battery finishes up. Recharge was used, so is now on cooldown, although its cooldown is less thanks to the patch. Shield battery is being targeted now. The Stalker gets warped in. One more Marauder about to fall here. Clem still producing Marauders, obviously. Now 15 probes killed. 16. 17. Hero now, you know, can't lose more probes at this point, actually, even if he technically survives. Sentry going to fall. Stalkers going to fall. Recharge. Not enough energy for it. Clem's Proxy 2-Rax. He's going to make this a nice, clean 3-0. GG's. There you have it. Clem. He is your champion for the Monday Night Weekly. And that's that. Clem was in the upper bracket, so he does not need to play another best of. I think he played enough TVPs. It'll show up, but it is something like ko-fi.com/Monday Night Weekly or something like that. Because we want to see the patches. We want to see the new maps. We would love to see some new players, but that's a little more difficult. I hope you enjoyed the cast. Sorry, it's probably off. I mean, I was looking at new maps, but I was also trying to do all the same things I usually do on a big boy computer. on a small child computer. This setup that I have here looks the same to y'all, but it really isn't. And I would show you if it wouldn't require me to move this camera. Why do I have a different setup? I have sent all my stuff over to Las Vegas ahead of Safe House, which is happening this weekend. So that's the Saturday and Sunday. It'll be me and a bunch of other NA casters doing stupid stuff while also casting StarCraft 2. I am glad at least my laptop didn't die in the process. I was a little scared sometimes. My laptop can't do everything it needs to do. It tries, though. It really tries. Tomorrow, I'll probably do some more casting of maybe like KSL replays and stuff. And then Wednesday, I'm flying off to Las Vegas to get everything set up. So thanks for your support, everyone. Thank you for the resubs. I will be back tomorrow, Tuesday, for more StarCraft. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.